Hi, good morning. We're about to start our meeting for 10/23/2018 for 10 a.m. It's about 10:07 right now. We are holding a special town board meeting for, one resolution. So if I could, call the meeting to order, and if we could please rise for the pledge. Bob, you wanna lead us?
Yeah. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, so we've signed, this is, within the 24-hour period of holding a special board meeting. We've had a waiver, everybody has signed the waiver to hold the meeting. So we will start with the meeting. We have two resolutions. The first resolution, let's see, I just need to get it up here, sorry. Maybe. Do you want me to call the resolutions, or Jim, do you have them in front of you?
I
The
do
first, the first resolution is accepts resignation of a part-time environmental planner. So can I have a first and a second to accept that resolution?
I would love to accept his resignation, I so move it.
Seconded?
All right, moved and seconded, vote please.
Kent? Yes. Hubbard?
Yes.
Giglio?
He's done a great job for us, he's gonna continue, I guess, through a consultant to the end of the year, so, yes.
Wooten?
Yes.
Jen Smith?
Yes.
Resolution is adopted. Resolution 804.
Okay, resolution 804 is a resolution to retain a certified environmental professional. And this is a contract that will be, valid from today, what was that? Yesterday, and running through December 31st, 2018. So, Jeff Seaman has agreed to stay on board as a consultant to continue out the projects that he's currently working on till the end of the year. So, I just need a first and second to move resolution
Do we-
804.
Do we have a copy of that contract?
Yes,
So, cause I didn't see it in my emails.
it is on Granicus, on the town board, on the website.
Sent the draft around yesterday,
Okay.
entire board.
Yeah.
I know there were like a couple of minor tweaks that were made, but that's,
Actually, Diane sent it like 7 times. Yes.
It's on Granicus now.
Right.
I mean, I emailed you.
Do you wanna read it first before?
Yeah, please. Thank you. So, S-Power, downtown parking, Secra. Okay, I'm good.
Okay, alright, so can I have we didn't do a first and second yet, can I have a
We did
first and second for resolution 804? You want, Jody, what's that? Or do you need, is this yours copy? Yeah, no.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion to, move it.
And it
Seconded?
moved and seconded, vote please.
Kent? Yes, and I'm happy to keep, Jeff working for the town. Hubbard?
Yes.
Giglio?
Yes.
Wooten?
Yes.
Jen Smith?
Yes,
All right, resolution is adopted.
okay. And that is all of our business for the special town board meeting, so can I have a first and second to close the town board meeting, and we will move into our work session.
Motion.
Second?
Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried, alright, so we will close that meeting and move on to our work session. Thank you very much.
Okay, at the start of the work session, I just got, one thing I gotta say, and I need your indulgence. Last week when I heard about which is a good thing, the, movement of the North Fork Animal Welfare League into Scotiabank Kennels, which is a great move. I mean, 8 years ago, we looked at it, it was just cost prohibitive, and now it came to a point where they could get it. But in the meantime, I did work with an organization in Riverhead, the MTAS, which we formed with Denise and Fred McLaughlin and Lindsay Reed and a lot, in order to raise money for that purpose. In that account is about $80,000 to go for improvements to a shelter. Now, my my talks with Gillian last week prior to closing on that property, and I went and did a site visit on Friday, and Denise had called me, and she'd like to go and visit and find out where that money could best be used. I had at that, I didn't realize there was a special town board or work session on a Tuesday at that point. I made an appointment with them at 11 to meet their board, at the Scotiaire Kennels to look at that. It'll be about a 30-minute meeting, because Denise has to be back to her work by noon, but, so just to look at where we could best use that money, and they wanna donate that from the town to that particular shelter.
The only thing with that is, I don't know that that is the way that it goes. I believe that, the money from, they had dissolved that agency, that money was turned over to the town.
With-
At some point, I don't believe that I think it was donated to the town. We can get Bob at that point, but I don't think that agency exists anymore, or has control over that money.
No, but there was
I think it was-
caveats when that was turned over to the town with specific, uses for what that money could be
Right,
used for.
and we.
Right, so we have to, go ahead.
I handled that,
Yes.
actually. I worked with Denise and her attorney and got that money turned over to the town.
I know,
And
she
Bill
wanted to do
Rother
that.
accepted it, and
Right.
then within the agreement, it says certain ways that she wanted the money used.
Right.
So
that
the
we-
town
we
would,
worked on.
the town would then administer that money, so we will call Bob in to clarify that by the end of the meeting, but let's just find out that contract, cause we need to review what that, cause it was a donation. So once it was
Donation, right. I know.
donated to the town.
Nobody worked with Denise more than me, I can tell you that right now.
What was that?
So, nobody's worked with Denise more than me.
No,
with
I
Ray. So,
understand that.
No,
I
I
know
didn't
that
say that.
I know that because I know that because I
You know
talked
what,
with Denise 100 times in the
We
last
have Bob
week or
here
two.
that will be able to clarify, if you could just come up for 1 second.
Well, there were things in the contract.
Sorry, Bob, I
that
always
was-
catch you when you're coming in.
There was something in there about the sign, that she
Bob-
wanted a certain sign there.
Let's just
Right.
clarify this, cause I think
Right, that I knew.
it's,
Which Gillian has no problem.
there was, when
MTAS donated the money,
from when they closed that down, and then they closed that not-for-profit, and then, turned the money over to the town to be used for,
I don't remember
okay, so.
specifics, so
what
I'm
we
gonna be
need-
honest with you,
I
I'm
do,
totally
and I have a
unprepared to
copy
answer
of
the
No,
question.
so the only thing what we're saying is, I know that the donation was given to the town to be
Right.
able to benefit the animal shelter in the town, and the services that we provide, so there was something drawn up, I know there was a contract drawn up. There's now a question of what the contract was, the donation was, I know there was some stipulations on it, so if we could just get a copy of that, because, Jim is looking to meet, Denise Look, who's
Right.
over at the shelter, but I don't, I think that there's wording in the agreement as to what it can be used for, once it was donated to the town, so let's just clarify that,
As
okay?
I said, I did not work on that personally, we'll
Yeah, I believe you
pull the
have to work on
agreement and, see
Yeah,
what it says.
okay,
Okay.
all right, thank you.
I know what's in the contract.
I think, yeah, so,
So what can the money be used for?
Well, there were specifics in the contract as to, she wanted a certain sign,
Right.
in honor of her dog, and there were stipulations about the size. And then there were stipulations about, I think, yearly checks.
So that's what the 80,000 is supposed to be used for?
I have to pull out the contract to get the rest.
yeah, I don't think there is the one specific about the sign, but I think we need to take a look at what was agreed to at the time. I think what's in writing is what we need to go by, so
Yeah.
let's let Bob, get that information before we move
right,
or
I'm
agree
just
to
saying,
anything
well,
moving
Denise
forward.
reached to me, I assume she knows what's in it, but, you know, and I did speak with Gillian and them, in fact, today, and I know the sign, of course, was one of them, but, I know it was earmarked for either a welcoming center or a walking trail, and I think some of the design they wanna do down at the Scotiaire, well, now it's the Riverhead Animal Shelter, is a walking trail, a walking path, a walking park for the dogs, and I think that's where the money's gonna be earmarked for, I believe, and Denise is aware of that, but I don't think it prohibits that, but we'll
Oh,
look at
I think it's fine, but I think
We'll
it
pull
has
it
to come
out.
through it has to come through the town at this point. You know, whatever the agreement is, or whatever the best use for it is, but I think that it has to work that way.
Is it gonna be called, it's the Riverhead Animal Shelter, or it's Norfolk
Probably
Animal
Norfolk
Welfare?
Animal Welfare League.
Because they're not only gonna take Riverhead dogs, I don't believe,
Right, I
they'll
think
take-
it's the same kind of agreement that they have with Southwold, where they
Yep.
provide the services from the town, but it's still, the building is owned and operated by the Norfolk Animal Welfare
And
League.
they're going to, because the memorandum of understanding was presented to us before last town board's meeting, like 5 minutes before the meeting, so I hadn't had a chance to read it before we actually
Well,
voted
it's
on
the
it,
same
but.
agreement that was in place, that's been in place for several years, that agreement and their services provided are not up until February, so there's no change in the agreement. and it doesn't specifically say it's the agreement to provide the services.
Right,
So
no,
that
in the
hasn't changed.
memorandum of understanding, it did say that they would be responsible for taking care of the shelter and the maintenance of the shelter, but it didn't say anything about the premises, so I just had a question about that, and I think you all saw my email to the town attorney, so I'm just curious as to who's going to be maintaining the grounds,
Yeah.
because that wasn't addressed in the memorandum of understanding.
Right. Well, that memorandum of understanding was more for their board, more for the MTAS board, to have a comfort level that if they're gonna make this leap, that they're not gonna lose town services.
Yeah.
As far as,
But then they're still going to be taking Riverhead dogs, so if there's a stray
Yes.
dog that's out in the street, they're gonna be
They're
taking
still
those
providing
dogs.
all of the same services, they're continuing with their contract as they contracted with us, and they will continue to move forward with that until the contract expires, I believe, in February. So there'll be no change to services, in fact, I think they're increasing some services and we'll be able to take cats at this point. So it's actually a benefit, with their
cats,
move,
birds,
yeah,
turtles.
and I mean, it's a much more
Oh,
welcoming
it's
place,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
much better for the animals, I mean, it's, you know,
Absolutely.
hands
Best
down,
thing that could have happened.
it's
Without
a
question.
a wonderful move for them,
We've
and
been moving that way
it,
for
you
10
know,
years, yeah.
it's, and over at Henry Pfeiffer, they, you know, they're, you know, this I think is a better regionally located place for them, and then Henry Pfeiffer is also being used to its capacity, so I think
Right.
it's a win-win
Well, Henry
for
Pfeiffer was a
what we
good,
have here in town.
was a good avenue to attempt, because, but then it was all the hiccups along the way with Suffolk County Board of Health and the
Right.
No,
CDC
for,
and-
the animal shelter to
But
go to
by
the
the
Henry
way,
Pfeiffer
all's
Center,
well that
because I
ends
thought
well.
like the animal,
Find out.
the waste with the river right next door to it wasn't a very environmentally clean
You're right,
place for
right.
it to be, which is why I voted no for them to go there. But, I'm just curious as to what's gonna happen with the existing animal shelter on Youngs Avenue, so I guess that we'll be having that discussion shortly.
Yes,
So
Okay.
as soon as we figure out
Sell it.
what's there, what's the possible uses for it, and then we can have a discussion about that.
Sell it.
And thank you for the update.
Well, I don't think that the residents that live up and down Youngs Avenue wanna see an expansion of Crown. I think that they have a hard time with all the garbage trucks that are coming in and out of there and stuff now,
All-
let alone
all comes down to
expanding it.
I think we need to have,
But we will.
engineering go over and assess the building,
Mhm.
see what shape it's
Sell
in,
it.
see what the possibilities, we can have planning
There's
take a
10
look
years
at it,
worth
see
of
what the
garbage
possibilities are,
recycling.
present it to the board, and then we can make a decision from there.
Good.
All right, okay, so we will start, is Laura?
You know, Jeff and Bob are here.
Okay, so we will start with Jeff and Bob for the Riverhead Solar 2, update.
Morning.
Good morning.
Again?
Bob, now you know, when
I'm
you come
smart
walk through the
not to
door,
come
just
in
turn
here.
around and go back out.
Yeah, I have the same thing, looks like you have, which is the notice that was issued that's apprising us that there's an upcoming, procedural conference. And that procedural conference in part will be dealing with the request for intervenor funds under the, Article 10 procedures. That conference date is, or that procedural conference date is scheduled for November 8th, 2018 at 5 o'clock. It's gonna take place in the Riverhead Legislative Auditorium. Intervenor funds application or requests are due tomorrow by 4:30. They are still being revised and modified by myself at this point, and I will be circulating if anybody wants to see a copy of them before they go out, please let me know. In addition to that, there have been some, other, responses to the Article 10. There's one that came from the New York State Department of Ag and Markets, there's one that came from DEC, there's one that came from,
These comments that went to them during the
That
public
went-
scope,
yeah, that
during
went to
the
the public.
open scoping?
to the PSS.
Okay.
So, again, anybody who is interested can go to the New York State, website, and look up the case, which is 17F0655. And they can look at all of the documents that have been filed with respect to this particular application. It's, readily available on the Department of Public Service website.
And
We
we'll
should
put-
probably put this information on our town website with a link to the right that says Solar 2, and then people that can have the links to all the documents.
We'll do like we have done with all the other major projects, what we've been doing with EPCAL, and anything that requires a lot, we'll post that up there and we'll put it in the, so it's easy to see.
So I have
Good.
extra copies of this if anybody wants, and there's also a
an associated letter that was issued by the Departments of, Public Service to council, James Moscato and Laura Fumier, which is asking them to make sure that, parties are given notice of the upcoming procedural conference, and copies of those letters are here as well.
Bob, when people send comments in to the PSA, do we get copies of all, of everything people are sending in, or it just all goes onto the site and is accessible? We don't get notified when people.
I have not been getting copies, I'm not
Yeah, I
sure
haven't
if
been
you
getting
are,
anything
but I know
either,
that they are on the website. So
Okay.
anytime you wish to just get an update, like I say, it's very easy, sign on to the PSA website, plug in the case number, and you'll see everything
Everything
that's
that's
there.
been, okay.
And it's easy to do, I've actually bookmarked it so that I can find it a lot easier now.
So what happens at the intervenor, on the eighth? What is that exactly?
Good question. I know that certainly the intervenor funds request will be, discussed by the, presiding, examiner. I presume the presiding examiner will be there, and, there will be potentially stipulations and other agreements which will be entered into, by PSC with interested parties. I have not seen any other intervenor requests for intervenor funds, filed yet, as of this morning. It's also an opportunity to reach agreements, stipulations. In some instances, if you look at other Article 10 processes, the parties have agreed to stipulations and extensions of time to submit various documents, so, but I think primarily it's for the intervenor funding.
And at this point, the stipulation would really just be for our comments, right, for the scoping?
Well, our
'Cause that-
comments are in.
No, but I mean, if you need, you wouldn't be if you had to ask for extensions for anything, what else would we?
Well, there was a request for an extension, I just didn't get a chance to look at it, I think it was actually from, Riverhead Solar, asking for extension time to respond to the comments they've received.
Okay,
So there is a document that's on file with
Okay.
PSC for that, and I presume that would be something that, they could discuss at this as well.
okay.
And there are 2 administrative judges that are included in the notice.
Yeah, the presiding, administrative judge, according to the information provided, is Judge Anthony Belcito. He's the, going to be the, presiding examiner. And then Maria E. Villa from, DEC is also listed as an examiner or administrative law judge.
All right, and then after this, what is our next deadline with the project? Do we know that yet?
Well, I don't know, I believe that what'll happen is they'll file their responses, and then there'll be that gap in time when they will then file their, what's called their application, which is for the certificate, for suitability or for eligibility to operate this facility.
Okay,
So that'll happen, I see that happening in 2019.
okay, yeah, so okay. Alrighty,
And there's another round of intervenor funds for that available as well,
okay.
alright?
And what's happening with Solar One, Jeff?
Planning board, in fact, I have the resolution here, adopt a resolution. Bear with me, here it is. On October 4th, they issued a resolution, adopt a resolution issuing a positive declaration again on the project, and requiring a supplemental environmental impact statement. They believe that
It was segmented under secret?
correct, and so they want additional information regarding Yes Tower 2 to be incorporated as part of their finding statement for the first project.
Okay. So, it is considered segmentation under secret, or they're looking at it as that, because it
looking
was
at it as that.
it was,
I would never say that, that's, 'cause that's a legal term, but
Yep.
they believe that when they issued the finding statement, and the next day the application was filed with the state for the Riverhead Solar 2 project, and that was not included in the EIS for the first one, that got the planning board's attention.
understood, thank you.
Alright, anything else from anybody
Certainly
on
is questionable.
the updates? No? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, gentlemen.
Who's gonna be making the statements on behalf of the town on November 8th? Is Jeff going to be available to be there for
All right,
that?
but okay, sit back.
I was very planning on being there
Yeah.
because, I have drafted, cover letter and an application for intervenor funds. As I said, it's about 99% done, so I plan on being there,
Okay,
since, it's going to involve, you know, the, town getting reimbursed for our office's time, as well as the planning department's time.
And we're not asking for any extensions, it's really
No,
just an application
my
for
intention is
the,
to hopefully get that in today, if certainly not, later than close of business tomorrow.
and when there's no plans to bring anything else up except for the intervenor funds.
That's all I anticipate happening, correct.
All right, thank you,
And we'll keep you updated as the process goes forward.
all right, very good.
thank you.
Okay, so Laura, we will move on to, 2019 amended chapter 255 changes. We are getting through this no matter what.
This is the final draft, right?
Are you excited that we're nearing the end?
What was that?
I said, aren't you excited we're nearing the end of this?
And do the happy dance by one, two.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I wanna see that on camera.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So, I don't know which one you wanna go, I have a resolution approving the 2019 special event, application fees. And then the second is the actual, the codification of the chapter 255, town code itself. So I don't know which one you wanna go over first. The fees might be shorter.
Which one do you wanna do first? We'll leave it up to you.
We'll do the application fees, it's shorter. Okay, so we've actually discussed this 2 other times, and I don't believe there's been any changes in both of the meetings that we discussed it. The special event short form, it currently exists at 200, we're looking to increase it to 350. The special event long form, we did change from 1,000 spectators to 751 to, well, let's change this. It was 1,000 to 5,000, and we changed it to 751 attendees to 2,500 attendees. And that currently, the current fee is $500, we're looking to increase that to $650. Then we have the long form, it was an event where more than 5,000 are expected during the event, we changed that, we lowered it to 2,501. 2,501 attendees, the application fee currently is 2,500, we're looking to increase that to 2,750. We did add a definition for not-for-profit organizations, which we all agreed we took off for the benefit of the town residents, that we, because some of these charitable contributions organizations don't have offices within the town.
Right.
So-
The only thing is, I thought we were, for the not-for-profit, that we were doing one for short form and one for long form.
Well, that wasn't discussed.
I thought we had talked about that.
I have no notes on that.
I don't remember.
You guys, maybe I was just thinking it, but do you guys wanna do like a $350 application fee for a long form?
I thought we were gonna,
Cause it's 100, cause if right now, if somebody has, a couple thousand attendees, it's still only $150.
no, it's 100 to 750 is 350.
No, for a
For
not-for-profit.
not-for-profit.
So I'm just saying, for a short form, 150, and for a long form, it should be 350, only for not-for-profit. So it's like almost half of what the
Yeah, the
350 and
regular
the
fee.
650 would be. And then nothing for, but for the local, once you do the long form, it's just the one flat fee, just to cover some of the expenses for it.
Okay, so we're adding not-for-profit altogether. We did say that was $150 for the short, just for our not-for-profit. Now we're gonna say the short form is $150 and the long form is $350.
I think so. I mean, if everybody's okay with that?
My only
I'm okay with it.
question is, I know the short form, I'm familiar with the short form. How much more work is involved with the long form?
It's not more, it's just putting the information down, because if you're having an event that rises
Well, I
that
was asking the one that's
capacity.
doing the work.
Yeah, but if you have an
This
event
is-
that rises that to that capacity, you're still doing the same
We're
amount of
still
work.
trying to justify the rate increase, and I just wanna
Yeah,
hear the
the-
work involved.
The difference between the long and the short is, you may have, Really not for me, it wouldn't really be much of a difference. It really wouldn't as far as paperwork. I'm gonna be doing it for the short form anyway. The amount of attendees doesn't change. Maybe with Suffolk County, it might change the paperwork. They may need some like mass gathering permits or something, but that doesn't fall in the realm of what I do or the town of
It's
Riverhead.
Craig though, because you have to do parking, you have to do your safety
Absolutely
plan, you
correct.
have to do your fire
Absolutely
plan,
correct.
and all of
The
that.
bigger it is, the more time he's gonna spend on it,
Yes.
the more people he may have to speak with, absolutely.
You know, you
Yeah,
have
I do
garbage
the-
disposal afterwards, you have the police coordination, I mean, the police coordination does become more of a burden on you between
Absolutely,
long form and short form, so there is more work involved
Right.
between long form and short form because of the number of,
Not for me per se,
but
and
you
the
have then
town
have-
attorney, but
but
for
you
the
still
other
have to
departments.
coordinate with the police department
Absolutely.
then, and then you have to coordinate with Craig, and you have to coordinate with all these people,
Mm-hmm.
where an event with 100 people is not the same amount of work for you.
Well, not, but you're right, because it's probably not as large, not as many inspections, you know, areas, stations,
Right,
tents.
so you're not coordinating as
Right.
much information when it's the short form.
Right.
Because it's a smaller event.
So is everyone in agreement on that?
That's an answer.
That's
Yeah,
an answer.
that's fine, that
Okay.
answers,
Okay.
Craig does have to do more work, it goes through the same loop of
And the
people, but there
chief
is more work involved, so yes.
Okay, so we'll add that.
But can we jump back up to special event long form application?
Sure.
I think that we should strike, cause it says for an event where more than 751 to 2,500 attendees, and then I think we should strike spectators but less than 5,000 attendees. Because in the next one, for a special event long form, we have 2,501 attendees, and I think less than 5,000 should go there. But less than 5,000, cause anything
yes.
over 5,000 is.
It's in the wrong spot.
Okay. So, but less than 5,000 should go into the second long form for the.
Should go into
25.
special event long form application where you have the, over the
Okay.
2501.
And then we should strike it from special event long form application after 2,500 attendees, cause then,
It becomes the mass gathering then,
Right.
right?
so strike spectators but less than 5,000 attendees, so it goes 751 to 2,500, spectators are expected during the duration of the
Okay.
event.
And then we're gonna put that here.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
Good, thank you, Debbie.
Okay, then we go on to the late application fee. We have $10 per day beyond the submission deadline as prescribed in chapter 255-9B. If more than 60 days late or 2 months, it's $20 per day.
I thought you were just changing that to 20 straight out. Am I right to, I don't have my notes with me, but
No.
Wait a second, let me look at.
I still don't think it's enough, because I think that if it's 60 days late, they're gonna be scrambling around to try and review it if we decide to take it, and
I'm
it's-
fine with it to discourage it, I would put $50 a day, I have no problem discouraging late application fees, because I don't think we should, I mean, I'm of the ilk that we shouldn't even accept them, but we know that
we will be.
there will be, so I think it should be
There will
$50.
be phone calls.
Yeah, at $50 per day, and I thought the other one was, we had changed from 10 to 20.
No, I'm looking for it. now.
$20.
I thought we were going to do an analysis as to how much time is involved between Laura, Craig, and for late applications that come in, and make sure that it's,
I thought it was just the standard, the time they spent. It's the same work, late or not late, it's just, it's a condensed time frame.
Right.
So really, this late application fee is to discourage the late applications.
Yep.
Because it just condenses it in, and if you have 2 or 3 late at the same time, it creates a scramble, it creates a work environment that you're putting other work
So-
aside.
I have no problem with doing $50 per day beyond submission deadline, and then, but should that be $50 per business day?
I thought it was $20 per day, as prescribed in chapter 255-9B.
Let's see what 255 is.
$20 and then $50 for chief.
Okay,
What's
Fire
25
fund,
days?
Applicant shall be on the form provided by itself contain all required information. Special event, short form application shall be filed at least 90 calendar days prior to the event. And a larger one is 180 days.
right.
So if we're saying that's prescribed, and then if more than 60 days late,
Right, but keeping in mind that,
$1,200.
special event short form application, so if they come in and on the 61st day, that it's, I mean, Do you understand what I'm saying? So it only goes to 90 days, it gives them
Yeah, but they would-
29 days
they-
to review it.
If they have, right, 30 days, yeah, 29 days to review it.
I think that,
Yeah, so that would be,
right, it should be $50 a day.
right. Yeah, and then
Flat
the
out,
the
straight.
60 days late runs for each kind of application, so if you're
Right.
180 days and you're 120 days out, then you start getting charges,
Yeah.
the 50 days. So in between those 60 days, it's $20 per day. And then once they hit that 60-day mark in whatever level they on, it becomes 50 days per application.
Okay.
Okay, so it's gonna be 50 per day beyond submission as prescribed in 255-9B?
No, it'll,
20.
$20 per day beyond submission, so, like, if, say you have an application that has to come in 180 days prior,
Right,
right? So,
Yeah.
the 60-day is at day 120, 119,
okay,
right?
yep,
But between 180 and 119, they're getting charged $20 every day that they're late.
Okay,
But
yeah.
once you hit that 60-day mark, if you choose, or if the town board agrees to allow that application to be submitted, it will be the $20 for each first of the 60 days.
Right.
And then anything beyond that will then be charged a late fee of $50 per day.
Okay.
So it's 60 times the 20, and then each additional day would be another 50.
okay. So we're gonna change from 10 to 20 and then 20 to 50?
Correct.
Are we gonna do business days or just days?
I'd just leave it at days, because people come in Friday, 5 o'clock.
Okay.
And it's not like, you know, I mean, if Craig's around available on a weekend, and or somebody, the fire marshal's around doing something on the weekend, and they have some time to bill this, and they will, you know, go over and look and do things on Saturday.
Just to reiterate, we are gonna notify all of our most common people that
Yes,
when this is all
I-
done, so they're not shocked when they,
prior to January
Right.
first,
I think we have, if we pass this at the next meeting, the beginning of November, the letters can go out, we have November and December, and then we have the choice to set whatever date we start implementing this. So if we wanna start implementing it January 1st, that could be the date it started, but we should put an beginning implementation date on this, whether we wanna make it January 1st or January 30th, or, you know, whatever it is we wanna do, but we certainly need to, I think 60 days notice is,
well, currently we have that the application fee schedule will be in effect on January first, 2019.
right, so unless we wanna change that,
Right.
then that is up to the board, so
Okay.
is everybody comfortable, this will come up at the next,
yeah, if we get it on the
Board
first
meeting.
November one, that gives us November and December for notifications.
Yeah.
Okay.
And anybody starting off in January, which is very few, by looking at the schedule that you provided us previously.
Well, this is our next town board meeting, this is just to publish and post for the public hearing.
Right.
So I think that once we publish and post for the public hearing, then we should send letters out saying,
Go
we're
from-
going to have a
right.
public hearing, and this is the legislation that's going to be adopted, and let the people that normally find,
do you wanna say 60 days after adoption? And this way, in case
Yeah.
the publisher
Sure.
posts, okay,
think
we'll do
that's
60 days
That's
after
fine.
adoption.
because, and this date's gonna have to get changed also, cause if we're only going to be authorizing publish and posting on November 7th, which is the next town board meeting, then obviously we can't have a public hearing November 15th, right? So, however much time Diane needs to
Okay.
put it in the paper.
So we'll do 60 days after adoption.
So your
Okay.
January events will be discounted at a great rate.
Yes,
Plan everything in January
at
this
the
year.
current rate.
Okay,
Well, you should encourage everybody to get their applications in January for the entire year,
Yeah,
Sure, especially the ones that are over and over again appliers,
which
there's no reason.
we will do.
get Tara on that country fair.
Yeah, I was gonna say, get that country fair roll.
Hey, Jen.
Well,
okay, and we continue to the fee schedule, we go to fee for amendment to application. Any amendment to the application for a special plan permit will be subject to a fee of 25% of the application fee. Amendments may include changes to the location, route, parking plan, number of people expected, etc. Amendments to incident action plans or parking plans at the request of the town are not considered amendments to the application.
Right.
So that if we ask them to make a change, they're not gonna be
Right.
penalized for that.
Fair enough.
I
Okay.
wonder if we should say, any amendment to the application for a special event permit will be subject to a fee of 25% of the applicable application fee. Because they might have filed a lower application fee
And
amount,
turned out more people,
then-
and the
and then
application
they're
fee
gonna-
has to go up.
Right, so applicable application fee,
That's fine.
right?
Okay, liability insurance, it's what we normally take, but I just wanted to put it in here. The applicant and or property owner shall furnish the town with a comprehensive liability insurance policy naming the town as additional insured in the amount of 1 million each occurrence and 2 million general aggregate. If providing alcohol at an event, the applicant and/or property owner shall furnish the town with liquor liability insurance policy naming the town as additional insured in the amount of 2 million each occurrence and 2 million general aggregate.
Good.
It's in the application now, but people don't see it, so
It's
I wanna
copied, yeah.
kinda like put a spotlight on it. Cost reimbursement. Chapter 255 allows for cost reimbursement to the town for all necessary staffing at an event or parade. Applicants will be billed based on the hourly salary and fringe benefit rate of the employee at the time of the event. And this has all been calculated, I spoke with, Bill Rogar about this.
And do we have somewhere, I think, where we have non-refundable on the application fee? It needs to be in here somewhere, that the application fee is non-refundable.
Might be in the,
I think it's in here, but I think we should include it in here.
Okay. Non-refundable, yeah, because it's like
All
anything else.
application fees are non-refundable, just.
Yeah, because just like
Cause we've done the work.
yeah, that's what I was just gonna say, we did the work anyway, so. Okay. Okay, so moving ahead to make this, so I can actually prepare this for the November 7th meeting. On the front page, I'm gonna take effective as, 60 days after the adoption of this resolution. I'm taking-
60 days after the cause they're the two resolutions together.
Okay,
So it's 60 days after the adoption of the,
Local law.
yeah, the resolution.
Laura,
Yeah.
should just be filing with the Secretary of State, since it's a local law, I know that's what the county legislature does, so
Right.
60 days.
So do
from
we.
we could do that, it's
Okay,
in our code
60 days, okay,
too.
Right,
okay, yeah.
typically it's 2 to 4 weeks for it to be filed with the Secretary of State after you guys adopt it.
So the application fee is not, getting approved, it's not a publish and post?
No.
Right,
No,
so,
it's
but,
policy.
right, but what I'm saying is, do we want to these application fees, are we gonna put these ahead of this, or do you want this and then the
No, they
application fees?
they should
run
go
tandem,
together,
right?
yeah,
So,
or-
but this is.
I would much prefer do the code first, and then this will follow.
So why don't we do this, once we are adopting this resolution,
Then do this
then do these two together, so,
Okay.
but, and both of them will be subject to 60 days once we receive their approval from the state.
Okay,
Because otherwise you're gonna have your application fees applying before your new your new.
right, no, and none of the code refers to this, so they kinda go hand in hand.
Yeah,
Okay.
60 days after filing with the state, not approval of the state.
approval of the state, it takes about 2 weeks usually.
6 days after,
Upon receipt of Secretary of State?
So the
With
town clerk gets a notice from the
approval.
state that the local law is adopted.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, and then we'll go to the second page, the short form, the first one from 2 to 350 staying the same. The long form, we're gonna take but less than 5,000 out, that's gonna go below, so just, and then that's gonna remain at 650. And then the second long form that has 2,501 attendees, but we're gonna also add but less than 5,000, and we're gonna leave the fee at 2,750. And then under not-for-profit, we had the short form that we discussed for 150, but we're also gonna add the long form fee of 350. Under late application fee, it's $20 per day beyond submission, if more than 60 days late, $50 per day.
Or on the 61st day, it would be $50 a day.
Do we have to put to run concurrent? You just know that it's $20 for each day, they don't say I'm 60 days late, you can only start charging me 50 then.
Right, no, mm-hmm,
Just check with, Bob on how to word that, so that
Okay.
it's not confusing.
okay. And then fee for an amendment, we're gonna add 25% of the applicable application fee, and the rest is okay.
Very good.
So this is good, this is done.
Voila!
One down.
Okay. Now, again, all of these changes have been discussed, but when you hear them again, you may wanna make changes again. If you go to page, and this does not have page numbers, because my footnote is in the way, but I needed to find it again. On page 2, under 255, I'm sorry, let's skip that, page 3, under definitions, 255-8, we added charitable organizations, it's the same, definition that is also in the fee schedule, it's verbatim. Then we did add food vendor, cause in here I asked for food vendors to give me the Suffolk County Health Department, so I just wanted to define that. Special events, I just cleaned it up a little bit, about 3 paragraphs up. It's, having fewer than 100 attendees, I added, cause it's not just spectators. And at any one time, we took that out, so it's just fewer than
Right.
there. And again, attendees, I just added that. On A, we took out at any one time again. And then we can go to the next page. I did add on the top of the page, special event permit. Other codes have that, and we should have it as well. So I just added that as a definition.
Just out of curiosity, do they have to, do they have to display their events, their approval at an event?
Well, they have to have it, doesn't have to be displayed like a building permit does, but if it's asked for by any kind of code or law enforcement or code, they have to produce it.
So do they have to go find somebody to get it, like if, say, the person who organized the event, do we ever have an issue with that, you know?
Never so far, and usually with Craig and even the police department, more
They
so
know who it
Craig,
is
he
already.
knows who he's been contacting with prior to the commencement of the event.
Okay.
So he would look for that person.
Okay,
And anybody can just call the town too and say, do we have a resolution for,
but I mean, on
Say
a
they
Sunday
forgot.
afternoon at
Sunday,
9
that's-
o'clock
Yeah,
in the
right,
morning,
right,
there's
right,
no
right,
one to
yeah.
call.
We
No.
had that happen this last summer, where the 4-H camp, I think Cornell was having something, Cornell, Nassau County was having something at the 4-H camp, and the event got canceled, because they
Right.
didn't have any special event.
well, then maybe they just have to run home and find it, I don't know.
Right, but maybe
they
we
never
should,
filed
They
maybe we
never
should,
filed for it,
Yeah.
so they didn't have one.
Yeah.
They weren't gonna come up with one regardless.
should we put that somebody, that it has to be displayed somewhere, or be available
I could borrow
for?
that language from the building permit.
Yeah, just that it should be available on the day of the event, at the event.
Available on site, right?
Yeah, on site.
And you also have the same, I know I'm maybe a little ahead of you, but B2, you'll have to change that, first sentence to 2,500, not 5,000.
Which,
Where is that?
B2,
which
Oh, the-
section?
A2?
2559.
Okay,
Okay.
2559, okay.
You just changed it to 2,500,
Okay.
that's 5,000.
Right.
So not the 5,000, 25?
2,500?
Cause then the
Yep,
next
the
one,
next
3
one,
is
yeah,
2,500.
yep. This gets buggy after you start working.
Yeah, I know, you
Oh, I have, yeah,
can't
I have
catch
this
everything.
2501 in the second.
Okay, yeah, the second one is not the two, B2 should be,
You're going to bed at
Then
night, and
20
Marco going, 2,501.
I just, as I was like making the copies, I'm like, this could be the last time, yay! Okay, and then 3, of course, is 2501 to 5,000. And then we changed the file date to 270, do you wanna go back for the short form? At least 90 days prior to the commencement dates, then,
Which one are you reading?
I'm B1, I went back, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, so you're on B1?
It used to be 40, B1, we had 40 calendar days prior to the commencement, now we're gonna
It's
change it to
90 days, yep.
And then 2 for 751 attendees, but fewer than 2,500, it's 180, we had it at 120. And for event from 2501 to 5,000, at any one time, we had it at 180, and now we upped it to 270 days. Okay, so that's good.
27, was that 9 months?
I don't know, Jim, I need a calculator.
Yes.
Nine
Yes.
times
Yes.
30, yeah.
Next time
bring your
little calculator.
Nine months.
But if somebody's having an event for 2,500 people, they know 9 months in advance that they're having that event, they're not doing that like the day before.
Like the Fold Festival, they knew a year in advance.
Yeah, they,
October, so it's gotta be about February in this country. All right. No,
Okay.
no, we're still hibernating from the October.
And then we skip on to the next page, number 2, we just said at one time and collectively, so it says expected
which
maximum number of
section
persons.
are we on now?
We are on
Next page, you're on the wrong page.
255-9, there's
Two.
A, B, C, 2.
Okay,
Okay, so we added, at one time and collectively,
okay.
and, in 2 spots in that paragraph, we skipped 3. 4, we did not, every 4 persons in attendance, we said at peak attendance.
Okay.
Okay, and 5, I added what I said with the state, a copy of the state and New York, or county license permit for said activity. That means like their food permits from the county and things, cause we had one that just passed. I asked for it prior to the event, I asked for it after the event, and I never got it. So I have a big old red for 2019
Not happening.
that I know, if you don't get this, I'm coming to the board and saying, we have a problem here, I asked for it last year, I didn't get it.
But is there a fine with the current one if you do not have provided the paperwork before?
Nope.
Okay.
Well, how long are we giving them to actually give you the permits from the county for their vendor permit?
Didn't we change that to 2 weeks or
14 days, I thought.
Yeah,
I thought so,
that's, I think,
and that's
further
not in
down.
here. But
Yeah.
that should maybe be here, right?
we can add it there, to be received.
The name, address, and telephone number of the person who will be engaged in the preparation and sale of food, and a copy of their state or Nor County license permit for said activity,
no-
to be submitted 14 days prior to the event.
To be received no later than 14
Right.
days. It might be sitting here somewhere else prior to that, cause that,
It is in here somewhere else.
I thought it was, but,
But this, it's
Well, you
applicable
added
to
this.
this
yep,
permit.
yeah, we'll see if when we have it.
Doesn't
copied,
hurt to
then we'll
repeat
take-
it.
Yeah, right,
Yes.
right, okay. So then, 6, 7, 8, 9 remain unchanged. D, we're gonna go flip over to the other page. 1 stayed the same, 2 stayed the same, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 all, there's no changes. And then we have 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Okay, go to 18, paragraph 18, 255, 9, 18. I just added town, county, this is in the event of signs. They will need, if they wanna put a banner across a town road, they're gonna need a town permit, a sign permit. That wasn't in there, it was only town and, county and state, so I just added town to that. And then 20, it was just kinda giving the town clerk a little bit of authority at the counter.
Should
The town-
this say, for 18, should it say prior to the, or, if any type of banner is to be displayed adjacent to a town, county, or state road, the applicant shall include the size of the banner, location of the banner, and the dates that it will be displayed, and submit approvals from the appropriate town, county, and state agencies prior to the banner being placed, or, right?
So they can't put the banner up
Right,
and then go
and
get a
then go
permit
get
later,
approvals, right,
or not get a permit.
right.
Alright, if any type of, we can have it,
Prior to erecting, applicant shall include the side prior to erecting that they need the permit.
alright, I'll have to make that.
Prior to installation, prior to a banner being displayed adjacent to,
I mean, doesn't it pretty much say that, or no, am I missing something?
It's just to clear it up, it says it, but it's not clear.
Well, they want to know the dates and the location that this banner will go up.
It says that it is
On the
displayed and
application.
submit approvals from the appropriate town. So we want the approvals prior to putting up any of the banners.
But see, in my review, I know that that's in here, I'm gonna see if they have a banner, I'm gonna call over to the building department and say, did they apply for one?
But this is what I'm saying, that this way the applicant
may not be
knows
here.
that they need to
Right.
give you the permit before they even consider
Okay.
doing it.
Yep.
They need to have gotten it, and it needs to
Okay.
be submitted.
Okay, so I'll read that language.
So
Prior
you
to
shouldn't even
banner
have to
being
call the
displayed.
building
Okay.
department, that's their
Banners
responsibility.
and the dates
I'm
that
gonna
will
be
be
here
displayed
forever.
and submit approval.
I'm never leaving, I'm gonna be here
I don't
forever.
get it.
All we're saying is that they need to submit their permit for the banners to be erected.
Doesn't that
before it
say
gets
that?
erected, and then the onus is on them.
Overthinking this. The dates will be displayed and subject, and submit approvals from the appropriate town, I mean, in your
So
application, you gotta submit the
we'll
approval.
submit approvals prior to displaying, or whatever, just,
Prior to a
Just to
banner being
clean it-
displayed,
yeah, just clean up the language, that's all, make it more user-friendly.
okay.
The whole idea of this is to not leave
Well,
any
that's what this
question as
is,
to
that's
what
why
the
it
intent
needs
is.
to be a little clearer.
Unfortunately, people look for loops.
Right.
Right.
People look for loops. Okay, 20 is
Well, you're
rejection
making
by
me
town
loopy
clerk.
I
The
think
town-
in the end, we'll be glad we did it.
Yeah.
Yep,
Well,
The town clerk shall have the authority to reject any application that the town clerk finds incomplete. If a certificate of insurance is not received 30 days prior to the commencement of the event, then the application shall be deemed incomplete and will result in the denial of the application. So that's, no,
pretty cut and dry.
And that should be printed in red on the
Yeah,
application.
I just have a question, as far as sound goes, where is that?
that's a different ordinance.
Okay, so that would be,
That's decibels,
Noise.
yeah, that's
okay,
a
and we
noise
haven't,
ordinance.
we haven't here that they must abide by that ordinance?
Well, I do it in all the resolutions.
Okay, okay, so becomes part of the resolution
Right.
and part of
in
this one.
here, so,
Number
Yeah.
6 deals with, 259 sub C, number 6. Talks about a plan for the use of live music, loudspeakers, horns, or other sounds which will be used, if any, and the type and location of speakers and other audio equipment.
and it's also under the definition of special event, where it's under A4, where it says noise disturbances as defined and regulated under chapter 251, article 1, noise of
That's,
this
I just,
code.
I just,
So
I just
that's
wanted to
it,
make sure the
yeah.
code was in there.
That addresses it, good.
Okay. So then if we go to 25510, conditions for granting permit, we can skip through A. B is, again with insurance, I'll read this because it's important. The applicant shall file with the town board before obtaining such license, a certificate of public liability insurance covering the applicant and the town of Riverhead for personal injuries, comprehensive general liability, and amount satisfactory to the town attorney. Which policy shall name the town as an additional insured and shall be non-cancelable without 30 days prior written notice to the town. Said insurance policy shall be approved as to form sufficiently in limits of coverage by the town attorney. Applicant shall submit notification from their insurance company 72 hours in advance of the event to verify insurance validity. Failure to submit said notification shall result in a $250 non-refundable administration fee. Until people get it, that's gonna happen a lot.
But I think that we should, this is where we were talking before, that I think that we should have people give a deposit to cover these in case they are charged with it. A refundable deposit. You know, I think that there should be, with every application, there should either be a, $350 refundable deposit that is issued, so that if this does become the case, then we just take that out of the deposit, so we don't have to go chasing anybody.
Well, we can put that under the fees.
Yeah, I think that we should have that in there.
But if we're canceling the event for failure to provide the insurance, they've already paid all the fees for the review, so why would we?
No, this is, they've submitted their insurance fee, the event is good to go, but we want confirmation 72 hours before the event that the insurance is still in effect.
Right.
So if we don't get that, if we don't get that notification that the insurance is still in effect, then they get
And the
charged.
event's canceled,
Well, not
and we've collected all their fees
Well,
already.
Well, no, it isn't canceled, because they provided us with valid insurance that says they have insurance in place, but we want a second validation 72 hours before. So we will let the event go on, because they gave us the valid insurance, but there's a $250 administration fee. I think it's just a second check that you're asking for, is that not correct, Laura?
Yes.
72 hours in advance of the event to verify insurance validity. Failure to submit said notification shall result in a $250 non-refundable administrative fee. Upon submission of the valid certificate of insurance, the $250 fee will be paid or the event will be canceled.
No, because we don't cancel the event, right? Is this correct? You have a valid insurance certificate, but you want verification 72 hours before the event that the insurance has not been canceled, correct?
Right, and I'm concerned with litigation.
And if you don't get that notice, because you try and check now, correct? And do you cancel the event if you don't have that 72-hour notice?
Would I?
Yeah.
I mean,
I'll be back in 15 minutes.
They could.
Technically, they could run the event
yeah.
without insurance.
Right.
right,
Well,
I think it's smart to do that. I mean, I wouldn't do that, I would bring it to the board and say, what do you wanna do? But, yeah, I mean, you gotta make sure the insurance is, cause,
But practically,
right,
right now, I have an event, I handed you my insurance 60 days before, or
Right.
6 months before.
6 months, yeah.
6 months, I gave you my insurance. Are you comfortable just leaving it at that? Or are you now requesting that they re-verify that 72 hours before,
I
that
think
they
they should
have the.
re-verify.
Right, so we're asking them to.
It could be canceled for non-payment, you know, it could, anything
But
could.
what I'm saying is, all we're saying, if they then do not give you that 72-hour confirmation, the event still goes on, and we just do a $250 fine.
But then, like
Well,
you said, you may want a
But
deposit,
this is,
cause I'm not gonna collect
we
it.
discussed this before, so this is.
I'm gonna go meet Denise, but why with these application fees, and believe me, the numbers go through my head, and it's a lot of money coming in, which is good.
Well, it's also
and-
great liability.
And sometimes justified. Why wouldn't the onus be on us receiving all these application fees to verify that 72 hours before?
Well,
And
because.
if it's not, then we take action.
Well,
Why-
no,
why would it be on the
we verify the insurance with the application fee we have, but the onus is on the person for the event to recertify their insurance 72 hours before, because you could have 15 events, it's on them, and there's no harm, no foul to the person if they do it. It's just if they don't comply with what we're requesting, then there is an administrative fee to that. If they follow all the rules, there's no extra fee.
But that's why I just think it should say,
I mean, we're-
failure to
we're
re-verify
people are
your insurance
paying the-
validity 72 hours
paying a lot
prior
of money
to
for
the event will require.
professional services
You know what I
through
mean,
the town.
cause we still want the
You're paying good money for that.
insurance
is-
validation.
I don't disagree with you, but my question is, in practicality, what do you do right now?
Once I get a certificate of insurance, and usually it has a start and an end time, most times it's a year.
Okay?
Sometimes it's for the day of the event.
And once you get that, you're comfortable with it for the town till the day of the event?
Well, no, I'm not really comfortable with it, because I said anything can
That's why
change,
we're
they can
asking
have
for
a
this, right.
non-for-profit, non-cancellation and get canceled for non-payment of premium.
So then this should be $250 non-refundable fee and the event will be canceled?
No, a $250 non-refundable administrative fee to be submitted at the time of the verification of the insurance, or the event will be canceled.
Right, but my question is, if somebody, you'll get your fee then, but you still may not get the notice. So if we have an event that somebody doesn't.
The insurance certificate shall be submitted 72 hours in advance of the event to verify insurance validity. Failure to submit said notification shall result in a $250 non-refundable administrative fee payable at the time the verification insurance certificate is submitted.
Okay.
Or the event will be canceled.
And/or the event may be
Right,
canceled.
right.
Right, but what I'm saying is all of that, say that again, or the event may be canceled? But
Right.
people need to know if they don't call, it needs to be like bold here, 72 hours. If you failure to do this, not only result in a $250 administration fee, but your event will be canceled. There's no wiggle room here. So we're either saying if you don't confirm your insurance 72 hours before the event, your event will be canceled. Our only other option is then to not have that certification and let the event take place. Those are the only two choices we have.
I think that they can, because if an event is on a Saturday or a Sunday, then on a Thursday or Friday, they can come in and say, oh, geez, it's 72 hours, my event is on tomorrow, Saturday. I forgot to give it to you 72 hours in advance. Here it is, it's Friday, here's my check for $250, and here's my insurance verification. Can I still have the event? And we say yes, because they paid the $250 and
Well,
they
that's
gave
where I
the
said
insurance.
it shouldn't be 72 hours, we should change it to different hours. 72 hours, it's $250, 48 hours, 24 hours, because right now what we're saying is, okay, if you didn't notice, the way this is written, if you didn't notify us 72 hours in advance, the only thing that happens is you get a $250 fee and your event takes place.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Right.
They should have
That's
to
the issue.
submit the $250 with the verification of the insurance.
Okay, when does the event get canceled? 72 hours prior or 24 hours prior? So,
24 hours prior.
but we don't have that written anywhere.
Well, it says they
Doesn't
have to
say it.
submit the insurance verification 72 hours in advance of the event.
Failure to submit.
Failure to submit shall result in a $250 non-refundable administrative fee payable
At the time,
at the time
The
the
insurance
verification
is submitted.
certificate is submitted.
failure to.
Failure to do that could result
Will
in
result.
cancellation
Will
of the event.
result.
Right, but all you're
result.
getting there is the 250, because if they make payable at the time they put their insurance certificate in, all of that gives us is the $250 to charge them. We still, and you're saying you'll cancel the event if they don't give you that deposit.
And the insurance verification form.
Right, but that all happens, that can happen 6 months. My question is, with that written like that, Laura,
I hope they do
I'm
it the
just-
day
but
before the event.
in practicality, if that's written like that, what are you gonna do if you don't get it in 72 hours?
What am I gonna do? I'm gonna come to you and say, I don't have confirmation that this is still valid, what do you wanna do? You want to hold it? I think you should cancel it.
Or she can
But I don't
contact-
want, I think this shouldn't be a gray area.
Right.
We shouldn't be struggling this on Friday at 4 o'clock when the event is Saturday morning at 10 o'clock and nobody's around or whatever, because that's the position it puts us in, being written like that.
We need
So
to put it in the
It
code.
needs to be very, very clear.
Right.
That if we are going to validate this, 72 hours prior.
Right.
If this validation doesn't happen, the event is canceled.
Okay.
And you're paying the $250 administrative fee?
Yeah, but you're
Or
not
are
gonna
we
get
What
do
are
it-
you paying, what are they paying an administrative fee for if you're canceling the event?
Because we still need to know that we don't have it, and we have to find it, and it gives them some impetus to do it. Or we just say, are we good with 72 hours, or should this be 48 hours or 24? I mean, we need to be very clear to cancel events. Somebody just that put, tens of thousands of dollars in an event, because they didn't make this one phone call within 72 hours, we have now completely shut down the event. And that's what we're saying here. And if we're not willing to do that, and that's not what we're going to do, this
Right.
needs to not be in here, or needs to just be something else. Because otherwise, I'm not dealing with a Friday phone call at 4 o'clock that says, it's 48 hours before the event, you're having the country fair, are you canceling it?
Right.
that's the position that we're putting ourselves in, and
Oh,
I
yeah,
don't think
you are.
that's a good position to be in.
Nope.
So, you know,
I need to think
Then
about
just
this.
make it 72 hours in advance of the event, or the event will be canceled, and don't charge a $250 administrative fee.
I think
That's
it needs,
probably a clearer and cleaner approach
Right.
to it.
yeah, that's fine.
I think that is, and it still gives us the
Hopefully
teeth,
people
obviously,
will
to
Okay,
shut
now
it
if
down.
somebody calls at 48 hours,
right?
Mhm.
48 hours and says, oh my God, my certificate is of insurance is good, we are still saying, we're pulling the police, we're pulling fire, we're pulling everything, the event will be canceled. This is not something that we can go back and forth on. Either we're going to have it or we're not gonna have it, because this, you know, are we willing and have the wherewithal to do this? Because if we're not canceling that event 72 hours before, and we're saying that we're gonna do this,
Well, you're saying
That-
48 hours or 24 hours, or what is it gonna be
I
before they
don't care
have
if
to pay
it's
the
24,
$250 fee,
I don't
so-
need the $250 fee, I'm just saying, we are saying that we are canceling major events, you could have 5,000 people coming to an event, and we're telling them, even though they've given us a valid insurance certificate, if they haven't verified it 72 hours before, the event is canceled.
But
Even
let
if they
me-
call it 48 hours, the event has already been canceled.
How about the close of business on the last business day prior to the event?
That can be 12 hours before the event.
You
Right.
know what, if
And
Understood.
so if we don't get, that, but let's just say Laura's not here on Fridays, who's getting that call and following up on it? Correct.
Well, there are other people in that office.
But you see the pressure put on us for
Wait,
that?
if
I don't know that
if
that's
we're doing
correct.
something so harsh, then really and we don't hear from them, I feel like we ought to follow up with a phone call too.
Yeah.
If we're gonna put in something so harsh.
You're right,
There's-
and
God
Laura
forbid they
does.
just
Laura's
make a
not
li-
like waiting
I
until
would
like
slip up, and
the
it is a huge
73rd hour and going,
event,
"Ah,
so I say,
I tell
either
everybody,
don't put it in,
whether it's site
Denied.
plan, okay,
guys, either let's not put it in there, cause it is very harsh,
Mm-hmm.
or let's give a backup phone call, because that's big.
But if you can't reach anybody,
right,
if you can't reach anybody, what do you do?
Well, we have the insurance company's name because they've given it to us already, so it's just calling the insurance company and verifying.
I usually do deal with the insurance company, cause people don't understand certificate of insurance, they don't know general aggregate and per occurrence, and they have no idea, so I say to them, if it's okay, as long as it's not in going to incur any costs to the insured, I'll speak with your insurance company and they'll tell me, you know,
And do you have
what
to get a
have
letter from them to do that? No, you're just confirming the
No,
insurance
no, I
is
just
in
do
place.
it, yeah.
So-
The only time is if it's gonna cost more money, then I don't do it, because it's.
So why don't we, so do we want in here that all insurance will be verified by us 72 hours before, any insurance found not to be in compliance?
You know, I hate to put that on me, but it's the only way it's gonna work.
But I think that also with the application, that maybe you could do a sample insurance policy so that you don't have to call and explain to the insurance companies, because I do that all the time in my private business. If I have to get insurance, I'll say,
Right.
here, this is what they need.
Right.
You know, workers' comp, DBL,
Right.
2201.3.
Well, what I was saying before is you can codify whatever you want here, the only one really that's gonna read it is not the applicant, it's gonna be the attorneys, when there's litigation, they read the application, not even all the time. So I think we should put it in the code, but it also has to be displayed like you said, bold in the application.
Right, but
Because that's what they're looking at, that's what they're filling out, they're not reading the code.
Well, do you have a problem with people, I mean, does someone go out and check at the site and see if they have a copy of their insurance?
No, not that I'm
it's,
aware of.
It's in the file.
it's sure, so
I
my,
know, but your problem is if it got canceled,
Right,
so does someone ever check to see if they have it at the
it's
library?
It
never,
doesn't say anything in here
No.
about
Are they
canceling
gonna
the
just
event.
show you, could they just show you the original insurance form again? And say, here, we still have the insurance.
yeah, but it's just an evidence of insurance, it's not the policy, they could have gotten cancellation notices from the insurance company, I don't know that.
Right,
Yeah, but we should be as a certificate holder on the insurance policy that they're submitting, so
We
that
are.
if there is a cancellation, then
We
we
should
get
get it,
notified
right.
also.
As long as it comes to the town attorney's office, if it goes
so
to
can
building
there
or
be,
assessors, it could sit there.
can there be a letter that's given to the insurance company that the applicant needs to provide to their insurance company, once the insurance, the insurance company will be held accountable for the insurance for this policy date, unless the town is notified, to something contrary to that. So this way, the owner stays on the insurance company. They've provided us with an insurance policy that obviously has been paid for, that is valid for that date. If they renege on that insurance or cancel that insurance policy, then they have to notify us, the indemnified.
They're not gonna do that though, they're
No,
not gonna care.
they're not gonna do that, but as Jody said,
Why
if
not?
we're a certificate holder, or not even certificate holder, no,
But when you-
additional
Indemnified,
insured,
There's a
additional,
little,
not certificate
there's a
holder.
little box at the bottom that has the
Description
name
box.
and address and the person that you're supposed to reach as the additional insured. Town of Riverhead, Laura Calamita, 200 Howell Avenue, Riverhead, New York, fax, phone. So if that gets canceled, as a certificate holder, you should get a fax or you should get a phone call that it's been canceled.
Well, I don't know about certificate holder, but definitely as additional insured, because that's
But
actually
have you
putting
ever
us
gotten a notice that said that
No.
somebody canceled?
Yeah,
Has
that's what
anybody-
I'm saying, the
Has anybody
insurance
ever
company is.
have you ever had an event where somebody canceled their
No.
insurance before?
I've gotten
Not that I'm
cancellation
aware of.
certificates
No.
from
Is an insurance company
contractors
allowed
that
to
I've
do
had
that
on
once they've
jobs.
indemnified somebody for an event?
And they
on
don't get a
particular
paycheck.
day?
that I don't know, I'd
So
have
maybe
to
we
find
need to
that out,
check that out.
There would be a liability
I know,
to
that's what
town if the event goes forward and then we find out after the fact that their
Correct.
insurance wasn't.
But it's not gonna be up to the insurance company to notify us, they
No,
won't do that, they
they
could
won't.
care less.
yeah.
They either got paid or didn't get paid, they're either, insuring the event or they're not, they don't care whether we're notified of that
Let's
or
check
not.
with our attorneys, once they send us for the date of the event, because it lists the date of the event and the event itself, if they cancel it, what is the responsibility of the insurance company to the indemnified?
And
Because that they may not be able to waive that without proper notification. So let's find that out first.
And are we are we asking to be additional insured on private property?
On private property,
Yeah, or just a
yes.
certificate holder?
no, we're always an additional insured, because if there's a lawsuit, we
Okay.
wanna be able to, get the
Right,
proceeds
we would be
from
dragged
that.
right in,
Yeah,
cause
we
we
would
approved
be
the
the
event
event-
to happen,
Right.
so absolutely.
Yeah, we would
Okay.
ride on their
Alright,
insurance.
so for the 72-hour, I mean, I am okay with, I mean, if we have 72 hours before, we have it's certificates of insurance, we can just keep them in a file, so 72 hours before the events, we know they're mostly on the weekends, or they happen on a Monday, we check them all on the day the weeks before the event. I mean, I don't think that that's such a big burden.
No, and I feel more comfortable, because then I'll know if it's done or not.
But
Yeah,
I would
I
then
mean, if
leave
it's
in
not
this
bad.
72, we could leave in this 72 hours, so the onus becomes on the applicant.
Right,
And that we can put in here, in addition to this, that it's $250 non-refundable fee to the applicant if they don't notify us.
Right.
But any insurance not being able to be validated 72 hours prior to the event will result in cancellation.
okay, so let's get the $250 non-refundable.
So
fee
the
out.
onus will, we have to make that second phone call, so that it's the first onus is on the person holding the event, they will be charged if they don't provide us with the information. But in the event they do not provide us with the information, then we will check with the insurance company, if they do remain insured, then we will allow them to hold the event. If the insurance is no longer in place, then the event will be canceled.
Okay, so Laura calls them on Thursday, they say, okay, I'll drop it off on Friday, they don't come in Friday with it. What do we do?
Laura's gonna verify we have the insurance certificate that says they have it, right? We know that they have it, so they can have the event, but we're charging them the $250 for not complying with the 72-hour notice to us. But if they don't have the insurance,
Right, that's
then
what
the
my
event would
question
have
is.
to be canceled.
Okay.
Because if they-
Then that has to be addressed in
Right,
here.
so
Yeah.
if the event, if
Right.
it's not valid,
Okay,
then it will be. So I think that has
So
to be,
failure to verify
Right.
insurance
will result,
validity,
which will result in the $250 non-refundable administration fee. If the town is unable to verify valid insurance 72 hours prior to the event will be canceled.
so you're still gonna keep the $250 in there?
Yeah, because the onus should still be on them to provide us with the information, but then we have recourse. So if they don't, if they don't provide us with the information, and we call the insurance company, and the current insurance company says they have no insurance, it's fine, but if we call at hour 65 when we realize they have insurance, that's fine, but they still get charged a $250 fee,
Okay.
because they didn't comply with what we asked. So it takes some of the burden off us. I
Yeah,
mean, is
because
everyone
like
okay
you
with that?
said, if there's 5,000 attendees, and I know that they spent a lot of money and a lot of time and they did everything else, I wouldn't feel comfortable, but I mean, obviously I'll do whatever you guys say, I would definitely make a couple of phone calls to try to save it, I wouldn't let it
I understand that,
Yeah.
but the onus should be on them, and that's where that
Yep,
$250
right, I agree.
administration fee
Okay.
comes in.
Okay. So we're gonna have another meeting.
So there should be something in here that says,
No, I
in
think
the
you could
event.
just, you could just, are we okay if we just if you correct that and send it around?
Yeah, but I wanna send it around and make sure
Let's
that
figure out what the
you're-
language is.
Yeah.
In the event, the insurance the verification of insurance is not submitted 72 hours prior to the event, the town will,
I think just failure to submit the notification results in a $250 non-refundable administration fee. If 72 hours prior to the event, the town is unable to verify insurance, valid insurance, after 72, prior to the 72-hour period, however you wanna word it. If the town is unable to validate, insurance, then, the event will be canceled.
Right.
If we're not able to verify the insurance is in place.
Okay.
But ask that from, Bob and Anne Marie,
So-
that's,
The bottom line, or what we're really looking for, is we want them to verify the insurance validity within 72 hours. If they don't, there's gonna be a $250 fee. We're gonna make a phone call, we're going to confirm with the insurance company, not with the applicant, cause they have
Correct.
no idea,
correct.
that the insurance is in effect. If it's not in effect, then we're going to cancel, or if I can't determine, if I can't get a hold of anybody,
Right.
then
Correct.
the event shall be canceled.
Right,
Correct.
cause we
Okay.
cannot hold an event without insurance.
Just so I know, like,
Yes.
the game plan, and then I'll try to word it up.
Okay.
Okay.
Everybody's comfortable with that?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Okay.
I know,
Glad we got that one worked out.
yeah. But it's a big
No,
big
it's a
deal
big
at the
thing.
last
It's a
minute, and you're
liability,
left there
too.
holding the bag,
Right.
what do I do?
Right.
And I think that's where it becomes difficult.
But anybody that's having a big event, whether it's 100 or 1,000 or 5,000 people, you have to give the town insurance.
But I'm gonna say that we're finding with a lot of these events, that somebody's been running the event for many years, someone takes over the event, they're really not sure of everything that needs to be done, and it becomes a real challenge, and things can fall through the cracks
Yeah.
when a new person is running a large
Yeah,
event
but
that.
it comes across my desk, it's not gonna fall through the cracks.
But
I'm gonna find it.
I'm understanding, but
No, I
the
get
onus
what
should
you're
be on them,
saying,
and they
right.
should have enough time to be able to.
Yep.
To get everything.
Like the country fair is a perfect example. We had many people, the same people doing it for years and years
But
and years.
look at the
and-
Red Frog, the Warrior
Oh, yeah,
Run,
that
right?
too,
The
yeah,
Warrior Run
yeah,
got
that's
canceled because they
another
weren't
good-
able to get everything
Yep.
together, so, and they had already started selling tickets for that.
I was just gonna say, they
So-
definitely
Which one?
incurred costs.
The Warrior Run.
The Red Frog.
The Red Frog one.
oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, the next is cost reimbursement, where the expected number of persons or the duration of the special event may impact the health, safety, and welfare. As a condition of the granting of the special event or parade, it's just really to clean it up. The town board may require to reimburse the town for costs of increased police protection. Again, it's just cleaning it up, it's just making it, tightening it up. Okay, go to D. The town board may require the applicant to provide a letter of credit, bond, or other suitable security instrument to secure compliance with conditions admitted for an event to be conducted on town property. Because if it's on private property, we wouldn't ask them to.
Right.
So that I just
Just
wanted to clear
garbage
that up.
removal, any damage to the
Yeah,
property.
yep. You have some, Jody?
Yeah, I'm just going back to, now that we had that whole insurance discussion, and wondering if we should have under, where is it? 255.9, and then you go to D20, where it says, rejection by the town clerk. Town clerk shall have the authority to reject any application that the town clerk finds incomplete. If a certificate of insurance is not received 30 days prior to the commencement of the event, then the application shall be deemed incomplete and will result in the denial of the application. Should we put something here also that says, a valid insurance certificate verifying the event will be required 72 hours prior to the event?
We can add that clause there too, just, double it up, it doesn't hurt.
A valid insurance,
Confirmation, additional confirmation 72 hours prior to the event.
just so that it's in both places, so that they're not looking at that going, well, it said I had to do it 30 days before, and now over here it says 72 hours before, which one is it,
Alrighty, we can go back now.
sorry.
That's okay. Where we
get it right.
Yeah. So we had, which one are we on? I wish I had page, 25510, conditions for grant and submit, and you skip to the next one, you have C on the next page, cost reimbursement we just read, D, we added town, to be talking on town property, and we're up to F, verification of payment. An applicant that is a for-profit organization shall have 90 days after the event to submit verification in the form of a canceled check to the town clerk or such period as may be approved by the town board that demonstrates that the proceeds payable to the charitable organization listed on the application have in fact been paid. So that's.
But what,
For-profit, or it
Not-
should be a not-for-profit, no?
For-profit. If it's a for-profit, but they said we're not gonna pay because all of our proceeds are gonna be going to a not-for-profit organization.
Okay, so they're doing a fundraiser to give,
Yeah,
okay.
right. See, for a for-profit, they wouldn't have any exemptions.
but then we're not saying what the result is, because are we then reducing their fees? Because they're paying, we said that they're paying all of the fees up front for profit, and then we would reimburse them? So
No, we didn't address that.
but then what does this do? This doesn't do anything.
Well,
Well, it does something, but it doesn't give us an end final,
Right.
action to take if
Right,
this
if it
doesn't
doesn't
pass.
get
Yeah,
complied
with.
the, the reason for this is what?
well, if there's a for-profit organization, like, let's just say the Ford dealer,
They're advertising that
they're advertising they're gonna have a Make-A-Wish Foundation, and all the money's gonna be going to the children of the Make-A-Wish Foundation. They're gonna be asking for an exemption of the $200 application fee, even though they're a not-for-profit, but because of the nature of their events, they're gonna ask you to waive any kind of fees. In this case, we would wanna say, okay, we'll waive the fees, however, we want proof within 90 days that proceeds actually did go to the Make-A-Wish Foundation.
By the way, you mean
And if
even
you
though-
don't,
But what, I
Or
mean,
you
'cause if,
mean that they're a for-profit, but
They're a
getting an
for-profit
exemption.
company
Yeah, you said
that's-
not-for-profit, but I know you meant.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
so,
It's a
how do we
for-profit.
know how much money they actually made and how much money
But-
they're giving?
but-
So if they make 10,000 and they're giving 1,000 to the Make-A-Wish, then should they be paying?
But
then
I
you
thought,
go back.
I thought unless it's
Right?
a local charity with an office
Like
here,
looking in people's
that they are I think the part of this was, what we were trying to say, if we were giving somebody a special event permit, and they said that they were going to be donating as part of their advertisement, they were donating to something, they didn't get any reduction in fees, but we wanted proof that they were donating that money. But, I mean, it's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, we don't, I mean, it's just validating, so say if, I don't know, whatever,
I don't think it's any of our business.
Kmart is having a special event on their property, and they're advertising that they're donating the money to
Wounded Warriors.
Wounded Warriors. At the end of the event, we just wanna make sure that they donated to Wounded Warriors, but I don't think we need to even do that. I
No,
think
because you
it's
know what, Wounded
for-profit
Warriors is
for-profit.
gonna hit them over the head if they didn't contribute any money to them.
I
And go
think,
As
public
that's a
with it, and
separate
that's a- yeah.
agreement
but I
with,
think this was
yeah.
put in when we didn't have the better definition of the local charities.
So why don't we
Not-
just
maybe
take
they're
this
not
out?
gonna hit 'em over the
Let's
head.
just take this
Yep.
out.
I think this is what we were struggling with when we didn't have the local charity definition.
Cause even
It's
the
not needed.
the Long Island Moose with the Wounded Warriors,
Yeah.
I mean, we know Charlie Cali always donates, but then if you're gonna say, well, how much did you make, and how much you give, then we
donate,
go to
and
profit and
right,
loss
yeah,
sheets,
yeah.
and it just becomes a nightmare.
No, I
No.
think, like I said, I think this was part of the struggle when a for-profit corporation was asking for, reduced fees,
Right, and we're
and
not
then we
doing
wanted
anything.
them, but we're not doing that, so we're okay.
Okay, so we're gonna take that out,
yes.
so then G becomes F. Okay. And now,
You're gonna have to,
I
you
always
kill
had a
it?
problem with that, yes.
okay, notification of adjoining property owners in residential zoning districts. Upon filing an application for a special permit or a special event, if the property which is the subject of the application is within a residential zoning district, the chief fire marshal may require the applicant to mail by certified mail, return receipt requested, written notice that a special event application has been filed with the town, so to every property owner, as shown on the current Town of Riverhead assessment rolls, of parcels abutting and directly opposite by extension of lot lines through a street or right-of-way, the property which is the subject of the application. Said notice shall include the date, time, and location of the proposed special event, and proof of mailing shall be submitted to the chief fire marshal in the form of an affidavit with postal receipts annexed in order to constitute a complete application. And the first instance that comes to mind is when you have fireworks and there's a lot of horse stables. These horse people, they need to know you know, that this is gonna take place, and if they have any objections to it, they then can come to the board and say, I received this letter. It's just, that's really one of the main things that I see here,
Being a good neighbor.
yeah.
Okay.
So, that's really what that is, and it's really, to me, it's really for fireworks. But it could be other things that could be noise related.
And it's at the discretion of the fire marshal, so the
Right.
fire marshal will know and make a determination of whether this is applicable or not.
And I've added language in the resolution for us, like for Giorgio's or one of the people that have these events, that they have to notify all the property owners within a 1 mile radius, I told them.
Jeez.
And that was because,
1 mile is pretty far.
yeah, well, that's what Craig had asked,
I
but
would
now
do
this,
a budding.
yeah, well, now we have
That's what
something,
this
there
is.
was nothing in the code
Okay.
to
Right.
address that, we just kinda, that was what he felt like the horses should, you know, take care of for the horses, but now it's in here, so I can change that language to this.
And I think one thing that we need to note on here is that this is a new resolution. If we find after 1 year that this is not something that's working, then we need to take a look at it, so this is.
Well, the whole code is like that.
Right, but I
This
mean,
is
but
like
I
that,
think
yeah.
if you're starting to get a lot of,
Yeah,
it's raising
feedback,
a lot of
yeah.
issues, a lot of feedback, please let us know.
Yeah, and then
But
we
you know
can
what,
change the
you
code.
have, you're always gonna have neighbor disputes, and I don't know that we wanna get in the middle of neighbor disputes, where a neighbor is saying, oh my gosh, they can never have fireworks again, cause my horses got scared. I mean, it's,
But then, but it's a residential neighborhood, so if we're giving a special permit in a residential neighborhood, I buy in a neighborhood, I own my house there, I'm not expecting the town to allow somebody to shoot off tons of fireworks, I wouldn't expect that, that's not what you're generally allowed to do on your property, so if you're going to be doing that, I would like to
no, but we
know.
have a lot of golf courses and stuff that are in residential districts, and, you know,
It happened a couple of years.
It may be that
I remember when it
all that the fire marshal says is that you need to put up a sign in front of your property
yeah, you
that says
just
on
have to
such and
notify the
such a
people, but
day.
it's not gonna
there
be
will
whether or
be
not
a-
we're gonna say, no, you can have it, or you know, no, you can't
This is just
have it.
notification,
It's just
It's
notification as courtesy to, you know,
Yeah.
some adjoining properties that may have issues with it.
Yeah, and,
Okay.
okay.
Okay, so then we go down under 25511, review of application, approval or denial of permit. A is okay, B is okay, but we added number 1, and it says, this is again for this time of year. Possible conflicts with other events and seasonal demands which may overtax or cause an undue burden on town services for parades and special events shall be considered if the parade or special event occurs within 30 calendar days of another parade or special event, and is to occur during the period of Memorial Day to, Veterans Day. So that was
So
kinda like
then we
this,
should also say, if a conflict occurs, or if a conflict exists, then the board has the right, or then, you know,
I think that's in the heading, so in determining whether to approve or deny an application,
okay.
these are the things that we can consider.
and usually in a denial, which we haven't had many, and the many times I've done it, I've probably like 3, we send an actual letter and we tell them why we denied them, and we also provide the section of the code.
And also being out so far, it gives them the opportunity to change dates.
Yeah,
So
Yeah.
I think that, you know, when it's not so rushed, it gives people the opportunity.
I just think that there has to be criteria in saying denying an application, like,
If one
other
is
than just overburdened and
conflicts.
overtaxed, or, you know what I'm saying? If there are no police available because they're already allotted out to other events, or if there's, you know
Well,
what I'm
that's what the
saying,
letter
there
was
has to
saying.
be.
But
Well,
that's what that says.
Okay,
That's how I read that.
And then impact the event of safety and orderly movement and traffic within the contiguous to the event, need for the town police to police such an event, impact on fire and police protection, firefighters,
Okay.
general health, safety and welfare.
okay. And then if you go to 10, it's just to clean up the accuracy and completeness of the information contained. I mean, we've had
How much do you love
applications
that?
here that they totally put down something that's not factual, you know, so
And I
that
think
should be
prior
grounds
practice,
for-
prior events, I mean, we had talked about, it's understandable, the first year of an event, you may not know the number of people that are coming.
Right.
But if you sold 1,000 tickets and saying you're only having 500 people coming.
Right.
We know that that's,
Right, so that's also a reason why it could be denied.
right.
Okay, and then if we go down the bottom of the page, privilege, the granting of a special event or parade permit is a privilege and not a right, and may be denied in the event the applicant fails to comply with any application provision of the chapter, or for any other reason not prohibited by law.
That sounds like
cover
an,
all.
that sounds like an Anne Marie paragraph.
Too short.
Right,
Not enough words in it.
you're right, you're right.
Poor Anne Marie.
Okay, and application fees, the application for permit shall be accompanied by a non-refundable application fee and/or late application fee, the amount established, by resolution of the town board of the town of Riverhead, as required by there, so there we go, that's where it's the non-refundable application fee. Let me go to C, late application shall incur a fee of 20 per day, there it is,
Fifty.
beyond the submission
120.
deadline.
20 per day.
Any applications made within 45 days of the posted of the event will be denied.
I thought it was $20 a day, up to 60 days, and then
we
61
just
days,
did-
it's
We
50.
just copy the fee schedule here.
Okay,
Okay, so it's
And are we doing, and are we gonna say if it's not submitted 45 days?
50 after.
I'm gonna have to really study
60.
these, like, days here.
Yeah.
Just make a spreadsheet.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna make a spreadsheet.
So, but any application submitted within 45 days of the proposed commencement of the event will be denied. If we have 90 days, 60, that leaves 30. What is the day, I think short and long form should be different, I'd said this before. Because I think if you have an event with 100 people, I think 30 days to do the short form. Or you, but it's up to 750, so do you wanna have 45 days for everybody? Because if you say, like with the short form, right? So if you have 90 days for the short form right now, right?
Right,
And then you're saying 60 days before is $50 a day, so we're just bumping that out, so they would have 15 days to get it in.
Right.
So it's 45 days, I would say 45 days for the short form, but I would give at least 60 days for any long form application. I wouldn't take a long form application within 45 days, would you? Do you want it? Does it make sense?
I mean, I could always use more time, but I can do it in 45 days.
For if you had 2,500 people, 25,500.
What I have to do, does Craig have enough? I don't know, but what I have to do, yeah.
So, but what you have to do is you're processing the old
Right.
application, so it includes everybody,
Right.
right? So, I mean, you know, and.
Well, let's make it consistent, because with the rest of the code, short form is one and long form is another, so
So-
let's continue that.
Okay, so why don't we do 45 days for the short form?
Right,
60 days.
And 60 days for the long form?
yeah, this way it's consistent throughout.
I hope I never have to apply for an event.
My gosh, me
I was
too.
just thinking that, I'll never have an event.
I'm gonna apply and let someone else do the calculation of the days. Okay, any amendment to the application for parade or special will be subject to an amendment fee, we already have this in here, right? Amendments may include, people expected amendments, okay, I don't, it's in there already, I'm
And we
gonna
can
look that
see,
up.
we
And
can,
it says
we can
applicable
refer to
application.
the, let's refer to this.
Yeah, it does say it, yeah,
We'll refer to the application schedule.
okay. Okay. And then we're
And
gonna.
do we wanna put the deposit in here? All events will require a $300 refundable deposit?
Yeah, we can,
I
sure.
think we should, because we have fees that are incurred here, whether it be not the 72-hour one, or whatever, so I think that we should have a refundable, a mechanism for that.
But
We're not
if
gonna
the fee
bill
is
somebody.
$250, then it should be $250,
That's fine,
and I wouldn't even put the check through accounting, I would just keep the check in the file, and then if they default, then you
we'll
cash the
defer
check.
that to
Right,
the
Yeah,
county,
yeah,
what to
yeah,
do with it.
right.
What
But-
they can and
But,
can't do.
yeah, I would put
That's
that
the
a
easy way to do it,
refundable,
I know.
refundable deposit,
Of $250?
yeah. But you also have your insurance thing, I would do the 300, cause you have the $50 fee if their insurance doesn't come in the 30 days before.
Mm-hmm.
So I would do,
and then $250 if it doesn't come in 72 hours before, I don't know.
I would do the 300, because that's what you could be charged, right?
Well, what
Totally.
happens if they do the 30 days, but then they don't do the 72 hours, and it's only
So then you refund
$250,
50,
so then,
you refund $50.
What? That just, say that
A
slower?
you're
it
taking,
costs
you're
more, you might
taking,
as well just keep the 50, because by the time you deposit the check in the bank, and then you go write the check, accounting, you've already spent the extra $50.
once somebody puts in the application,
Right.
what fees can be charged to them, once they put in the application, what other fees are possible to be charged to them, for non-compliance?
Will it
So
be
the
late
70,
fees?
a late fee, no, late fee you're gonna get up front with the application, correct?
Okay.
Any late fee comes with the application, because that becomes the other thing, are you
Oh,
taking,
right, when we take
you're
it
not
in when
taking
it's late,
incomplete,
right,
and you're not
yep.
taking incomplete applications.
Right,
Right, so
right.
incomplete application
Mhm.
incurs a late fee,
Right,
right? So, once you take the application, if it's deemed as a complete acceptance,
Mhm.
what are the two other fees that could be there, whether they don't have the insurance?
the insurance
With
and
the
then also
30
that,
days?
the $50, if it's late, they have to submit $50, and now if it's not verified, it's $250.
Right, so that's $300, so
Right.
that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Do we wanna take the deposit of the $300, or do we wanna take, you
I
know,
would just say
But-
$250.
Like, what about churches that have like a craft fair,
what about, short form?
short form? Are they gonna put a $300 deposit down?
It's a deposit, nobody's cashing anything, nobody's taking any money, they
Okay.
get the money back.
Okay. You're gonna have some pushback on that, but just so you know.
Mm-hmm.
Certain people, the big events, spit in the bucket, small events,
What, for the $250 deposit,
but it's $300 deposit.
$300 deposit?
Mhm.
Well, if they're submitting their insurance with them right away,
Mhm.
right? When they
Right.
submit their application, it's a valid insurance, you can knock the $50 off that,
Mhm.
and then you just got the $250.
Right,
And you need that to make sure they have their insurance 72 hours before,
right.
and then they can come and get it, they can come and get it before the event.
Well, they might have to sign a voucher.
But, you know what I'm saying, that's,
I think it's,
you know what, when you create so many exceptions, well, who has to abide by the rules? A church abides by the rules, but does a school abide by the rules?
No, you
Does the
can't.
town
It's
abide by
gotta
the
be
rules?
consistent.
Does
No, I know.
you know, a small event at 100,
Right.
a small event at 750, who's abiding by the rules? So if the rules should be
Everybody
the
has
same.
to.
Exactly.
If you make it,
But they
then-
already have a non-returnable application fee.
right.
Why do I wanna collect a,
It's not an application fee, it is a deposit that you're not,
ensure.
it's to ensure that they're compliant. Because we want them to call that 72 hours before to verify their insurance.
but that's already addressed in the $250 fee.
Okay, but who's
We're just stacking stuff
ready,
on
who's
top
ready?
of stuff here.
Now,
I don't-
now we have to spend time going after them to get that $250.
Right,
Why should we do that? They give it, as soon as they're compliant, they
but
get
that's
their
what
money
the
back.
$250 fee is for, because we
Which
may have to
$250
spend
fee?
time going after them to get it back, for the 72-hour insurance fee.
But we have to go after them to get the $250.
Right,
So
that's
probably
what the
never-
$250 is for, that's what that fee is for, so now you're throwing another fee on
But
top
the only
of
way
it.
they get that $250 back is if they call 72 hours before. They call, you give them their check right back, you never cashed it.
Maybe.
If they are in compliance, you give it right back. There's no harm, no foul. But if they aren't in compliance, then we have to spend a lot of time to figure out who do we contact to get that money from.
Well, you're spending more time, cause they're not getting the fee right back, cause I'm sure accounting's gonna say that fee has to be deposited. People aren't holding on to checks
Well, let's
willy-nilly all
check.
around, now you've gotta go through the process of issuing a voucher and having to purchase. I just think it's more than is needed, I don't think we need to go that far.
So you don't wanna do the 72-hour thing then?
Well, why don't we
No, I
find
want the
out- why don't we
72-hour
ask
thing,
if
I don't
they
want a
have it?
separate $300 fee.
Not a fee, not a fee. It's the same as when you rent your apartment, it's
Yeah.
security.
And not,
Yeah, well, that's what I'm
saying
saying.
we'd have
I
to
don't-
deposit it.
I don't see the need for doing that.
That's what as long as the check isn't deposited, then you're
I mean,
avoiding a
that's
whole
where-
lot of
that's kind
hassle.
of
You're just holding the
would be
check
the
in the
difference
file,
here.
and then,
Yeah, but
avoiding it,
I don't
giving it
think,
back.
and if
I
you
just-
get the checks, if you get the insurance prior to the 72 hours, then you just stick the check in the mail and send it back to them.
Cause if you have to
if-
deposit the check, it gets very complicated.
Yes.
if Bill Rothar is fine with that,
So
I'm
let's
fine
check
with
with
that,
Bill.
I don't know that that's the proper way of doing it.
John, you wanna check
I don't
with
think we should be having fees just stuck
Right.
around willy-nilly in files and.
Well, it's not a fee. It's not a,
No,
it's not
no, but
a,
it's-
it's not
but
a
it's
fee.
money. But it's money.
But it's a
It's a
security.
performance security, it's a security, that's
Yeah.
what
Right.
it is.
Let's check, we'll check with Bill, and then we can make a decision on whether it goes in
Okay.
for a
The town
deposit or
clerk
not.
would have it, right?
Yes.
Keeps all of our documents.
Okay, to be released at a later time.
Dan, do you agree that life would be easier without attorneys?
Good
Good
answer.
answer, Dan,
All right,
cause
so
when we need you, we need you.
all right, we can go on from there.
Okay, and alcoholic beverages, 25515. The providing alcohol and events a liquor liability insurance policy naming the town as an additional insured in the amount of 2 million general aggregate and 2 million each occurrence will be required. We've said it, I don't know how many times, we can't say it enough.
Yeah.
So we're gonna leave that in there. And then the last is 25520, penalties for offenses. It says, a violation of the provisions upon conviction shall be punishable by a fine of not less than $250, no more than $1,000 for each offense, or by imprisonment for a period not exceeding 30 days, or by both such fine and imprisonment, in addition to any fines imposed hereunder. Failure to obtain a special event permit as defined herein shall be an offense, and the fine shall be, the applicable special event application fee, plus an amount not less than $250, nor more than $1,000.
What did I miss?
Nothing, we moved on from the last one.
A lot of good details.
Each day that such event occurs, is conducted or otherwise takes place without a special event permit having been issued, shall be considered a separate offense.
Okay,
And
good.
that's for prosecution and justice
Okay.
court.
Good.
Okay, so,
Thank you.
alright, I'm gonna try to work on this language and.
We're getting there, I know it's, I have a copy.
Just gonna change it to two,
It is important to get it right,
Yeah.
for the improvements to the ones outside.
and it's amazing what a fresh set of eyes on it does each time you look
Yeah,
at it.
it's
So-
true, yeah, it's true.
No.
11:20.
Pretty generous.
Okay. Alrighty then,
Thank
we'll
you
be
very
back,
much.
I guess, in another week or so, or?
Okay,
Yeah, another week and we'll go
Thank
through it
you,
again
Laura.
and,
Okay, you're
we'll change it
welcome.
all again.
Hey, Jim, you know, you gotta get it right so it's clear when people come in for the applications, because it's really a challenge when people fill out the forms and the long forms and they're not quite sure of everything that's required of them.
I know.
It makes it difficult.
Yeah, and when you come back next time, can you please bring us a copy of the application?
I'm still a little, the
Yeah,
attorney
that's
stands for
another-
that in my head,
Because
but
we
that's-
have to
that's
cross-reference the
discussion.
application to the
That,
code.
this is, Laura and I had talked about this, this is the policy, and then that's the procedure portion of it, so, Laura was wondering what to do, and we had spoke about it, we said, let's get this
The codification.
codification, and would finish this all up first, so that
And
she
then
can
we'll
then
tailor
tweak it
the
to
application.
the form, because then we have that 60 days in between by the time it's codified,
That and the sign.
to go through it, especially if the publish and post, if there's any changes to it, so what we have now is the older form that we're using, that is not necessarily, what it will be in the procedure going forward.
I have a copy now if you want it.
No, I can get it from the clerk, but I'm just saying so that we can cross-reference.
Well, we will
But,
have to do that.
but that's
We
what I'm
have
saying,
to-
you
we have
can't,
to update it to this.
until we finish
So
this.
you don't wanna do it until we adopt the code, and I'm
Not
saying
adopt
that
the
we
code, but
could.
once the board is in agreement what the code is, right?
Yeah.
Because we're
In
still
that
tweaking
60-day
this,
time period.
the 40 days, the
Before it would
45
take
days,
effect,
the
we will
60
have it ready.
days.
Okay,
Because I just didn't want double work, to, you know, cause every time we change it, to go back and change the form, let's figure out
Yeah,
everything.
but Jody wants the application done when this hits the road, which is
Yeah,
what it will
yes,
be.
absolutely.
Cause it'll
Well,
be
we
done during that time period that we
Probably
have.
killed about half the rainforest with these additions.
I know.
It's good,
We'll get
it
it
was
done.
good work, thank you, Laura.
You're
Thank you.
welcome. Have a good day.
Thank you. All right, so we will go on to Dan, do you wanna come up with credit card processing update?
Yeah, right, that, yeah, not they, make life, you know, more comfortable.
Did you wanna just ask Bill about the deposits
More
first, or?
Bill, yeah,
Can we
question
just have
for
you
you.
come up, sorry, Dan, we'll just have Bill, no, come on up and we could just have,
If we take in say a deposit on a special event, and they write a check.
Yes.
Is there, in terms of accounting, do we just hang on to the check in a file somewhere, or should we deposit that check?
It's almost
And
like a
then write them a check back, yeah,
Yeah, if we receive the bond, it's different, we have a third party that's securing it and telling us we're getting the money. The check itself, we would deposit the check in the account, put it in a trust and agency account, note it, and then when whatever requirements were met, then we just, send them the money.
okay, so it will be a voucher process where the
Yeah.
applicant would have to do the
because the
voucher.
question is, so
It's
like,
not
if
a
somebody's
I know, that's
holding
why
a
I'm not crazy
255
about doing
event,
it.
right? And we're saying that you pay a late application fee if you're not compliant with something. So if somebody gave us a check as a deposit to hold in the event that they didn't do something, can we just return the check that they gave it to us?
Well, best practice is to deposit it, how much is a late application
$250.
fee?
It's
Yeah.
very similar
It's
to a
gonna cost
political
that
sign
much just to process
deposit.
it.
Yeah.
Just to it's gonna cost that much just to deposit it, and then with an application, when we collect that $250, they should sign a voucher right there, and that should go over to accounting, so that when Laura says, okay, they did what they're supposed to do, you already have the voucher, and then you can issue the check, and then it's gotta go on the bill
Right, you get paid
schedule,
then.
and,
big deal?
Conversely, if they don't do what they said, then we have to deposit the check then, is the check still good, is it more than a certain amount of days, did they stop payment? You know, so to protect the town, you would deposit the check and it would have to go through that process.
Is it complicated to do that?
It's not complicated, it's one of however many deposits we make. We put it in a trust and agency account. We usually communicate with Laura and tell her this is the account that it comes out, so she has a voucher all prepared, just waiting for them to meet their requirements, and then she gets it signed
So
by
the
them.
process is already set up for other events that are
Yes.
happening already, so it's just a matter of depositing it and refunding it?
Yes.
And how long would the refund process, once we know that they've completed their,
Well,
You gotta authorize it at a town board meeting, so a
we
month
run-
later.
Right, we run checks the Thursday before the town board meeting if we get it by Tuesday, so it really, could be anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks, depending on the timing of how it gets through the system.
But you have to have the voucher, so the voucher has to be attached to the application, so that when we take the check and we know we're gonna deposit it, then they sign the voucher, and then you say, okay, upon you submitting the insurance certificate 72 hours prior to the event, with this voucher, you will get a check from the town of Riverhead for the refund.
Yeah, what they typically do is they have all that paperwork in the file, and then when Laura is satisfied that they meet whatever requirements, she sends that voucher over. It's already signed by them. At that point, it's signed by the town attorney, telling us that the requirements have been met, and we put it in the very next check.
Okay,
So
so-
Laura pulls the voucher, then she sends it to you, then someone or the check has to get deposited.
Oh, let's make it
Well, the
$5,000
check-
I mean,
then,
it's
let's make it $5,000.
complicated, it's
Yeah,
complicated.
the check's already deposited, so after, when the payment needs to be made, that's when Laura pulls the voucher, sends it over to us. And the timing of it is, if the,
where it falls in the
if we just
schedule?
ran a check, then it's gonna take 2 weeks before we run another one.
So it's about a 2-week layover period.
In a case like that, probably 2 to 3, not 2 to 4, because everything's already prepared. We don't have to go out to the vendor and get it all signed again.
Okay, all right. Okay, thank you. Okay,
Have a good day.
all right, Dan, credit card processing update.
Sure, good
We
morning.
just wanna brief everybody where we are, we have a contract right now, with the credit card company and,
EVO.
yeah,
Yes.
what it is.
Yes, so, for edification for any new town board members, we are currently in the 9th year of our agreement with EVO Easy Pay Credit
that
Card
long, huh?
Processing Services. Yes, it's been 9 years. Wow. We're in a current 3-year period with them, for a contract that actually expired this month, October 5th. So we are in a holdover status currently on that contract. We also, as you know, signed on with BAS concerning computer system services. And as part of that agreement, they were affiliated with a company called Forte, which is currently providing credit card processing and debit card processing services to our tax receiver office. Our tax receiver office offers us a wonderful opportunity now to compare services of EVO versus Forte. So at this point, based on information they provided to me, they're interested in Forte services for other services that they provide regarding credit card usage, mainly water, yard waste, and sanitation services.
As well as recreation.
That's correct. So recreation, as well as town clerk, and as well as, building department are also interested in those services. Forte came on through BAS, regarding that particular contract. As you know, at least for the new members, we RFP'd for EVO back in 2009. So it's the recommendation from the town attorney's office that if the board is interested in considering EVO again, Forte or any other company, that we RFP again for credit card processing services. I can utilize the same format I used for the first one and update that with new technologies that are available. For example, the chip was not available back in '09 at that time when we initially entered that contract. So I am happy to do that, if that is the board's inclination at this point. I will ask EVO to stay in a holdover status with us until such time that RFP is completed, and then the board has time to consider what they wanna do on that contract. I also understand we're currently coming to the end of the year on our trial contract with BAS and Forte. So I'll address that with Bob in terms of whether or not they can hold that contract over until a final agreement is done and the board decides what they wanna do at that point.
And how does it all work with the Edmunds system, with the new accounting system? I mean, does all that information for the credit card charges, like with Forte or with EVO, does that go, like, in a
That would be a
schedule
Bill
over
question.
to the Edmunds system?
We'll get
That's beyond my
Bill,
Because
Okay.
it's a matter of convenience too, for the chief financial administrator, as well as just getting the information over to him through,
my understanding is that each department, the the payments go into the account for that department and then go into Edmunds. So it's not,
So it's not individualized.
It's not individual into Edmunds, it's from the account, the same as if you were to get cash or a check or whatever. The department would then put it into their accounting, which then goes into the Edmunds system.
And then there would be a schedule that would go over to Bill that accounts for all those,
Yes,
for that lump sum.
Now, this fee is the processing fee, for lack of a better word, for the
Okay.
transaction?
Okay,
And
great.
is that not passed on to the customer or the user of it and not the town?
Right, great question. So, we have two separate sets of fees regarding two separate schedules. The first schedule I will address is in regard to the town fees that we pay as a contracting party with EVO. So, what we do with EVO is, because we had multiple departments who wanted to come online for that service, I negotiated a bundled rate of $600 a year for all of their access fees concerning the transaction. So whether we had one department utilizing EVO or 20 departments, the total fee per year was $600 as a cost to the town, plus an initial $25 gateway setup fee to set those computers up to the situation or the system's overload. That is our current agreement with EVO currently, and that's what we're paying. That's one set of fees. The second set of fees are the subscriber fees, the actual residents or non-residents who use the services as a convenience to pay their various debts or obligations or services to the town. Those current fees through EVO are a fee of 2.5% of the total credit or debit card service fee they're charged, plus a 60-cent per transaction fee. For electronic checks, it's currently $1.95 as a fixed rate. So whether they pay by electronic check for a $50 item or a $5,000 tax bill, it's still $1.95 as a charge for electronic check services. So those are our current fees with EVO.
Forte?
And they also provide the devices, the credit card, like the,
Yes, and that's actually.
that
an
was for the
interesting point.
$600 fee.
That's correct. So, in speaking with the, support staff of the tax receiver's office, they're indicating to me they're very happy with the Forte system, especially because of the chip technology. They've told me that on a transaction basis, with Forte, they can complete a transaction in a minute or so tops because of that chip technology. With the old system with EVO, it's taking longer, up to 5 or 6 minutes, because they need to actually populate the fields manually, as they often have to do to complete that transaction. So it's taking a little longer with that technology.
Yeah, this
But
was,
again, EVO may have new technology that they're willing to
Yeah.
bring up to par. That's why an RFP on this would be very helpful.
And we don't know what Forte would charge at this point in time.
Right, on a per department
Right.
basis, that's correct. I'm unfamiliar with the BAS contract, so we'd have to take a look at that.
it was a hiccup in the beginning though, that you managed to get us through in order so that BAS could be into the town, but
Yes, thank you.
because BAS was only compatible with the Forte, but we had a, PSA with EVO for the credit card services, so
Yes.
it was a glitch,
Yeah,
little
that was
glitch that we had
rough.
back
Yes.
then,
Yep.
but,
I believe that we can work with everyone, Jody, and in that case, we're able to bring everyone.
Well,
to
we
the
were
table
very
and
happy
do
Yeah.
with
that.
EVO at that very first blush,
Yeah.
but
They've been fantastic.
But-
They
And
really
they
have
might
been.
come back and be able to
as long as they can work
perform
with the
different
BAS
services.
system, that's what they.
Absolutely. Their
Um,
customer service and their technical support
so the
has been
RFP would
outstanding.
include the
Yeah.
chip, just to save time in the departments as far as, like that.
Yes,
R-
but again, an RFP will bring all that to the forefront.
Right.
We'll see the present technology
Side-by-side
9 years
comparison.
forward, yeah.
Right.
But then how do we address the fact that the BAS system would not be compatible with EVO for the assessors, for example, and it's only compatible with the
I
Forte?
don't know that yet.
Right, and I was told.
No, we did.
Well, I was told that that system should be compatible if we were to use that, and we could test that.
EVO.
Well, that would be in
That's
the
correct.
that would be
That's
in the
correct.
RFP also, that
Correct.
they'd have to prove compatibility with the systems
Correct.
that we have.
And I would require that as a condition precedent for a contract.
The other thing, can we just reach out to the departments that we think are going to, utilize this, just because, I know that Rec uses Rec Pro right now, which doesn't interface with EVO. So, just if we could reach out, bless you, to the different departments and see just what issues they're facing right now, and if it's something that we could put into the, RFP. And my other question is, I know that we do not have direct deposit, so that somebody, right now, you could, you know, any of your electrical bills, you can just sign up for automatic payment as automatic payment. Can we put that into the RFP also? No, we don't have the capability to do that now, say like your water bill and things like that, where it gets billed directly and then gets paid
Sure.
online directly. I know that there was a question because the bills vary, but it's not with the other utilities, so maybe we can, do that with.
Understood, just as an additional feature that we could
So
consider.
that
Optional
a
basis.
user could
And
do
it
that.
also may then save the payee money, because it doesn't tend to be as much of a fee.
Right,
with
it's not
that.
transaction fee, it's more of just an ACH debit.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
so,
Okay, and finally, Madam Supervisor, you had asked me to, speak with our, court personnel
Justice,
regarding the OCA contract.
Mhm.
In speaking with Roberta today, she's indicated that OCA has an agreement, with various court systems,
okay,
in which they provide those services free of charge to our justice court.
okay,
It's an OCA contract, and it's restricted solely for court personnel and court
Okay.
services.
so there's no
our
third party used
departments-
for payments?
That's correct, our regular civilian departments cannot latch on to that agreement at all.
Okay,
Okay.
alright, very good.
Okay, so I just wanted to let you know.
Really? We couldn't call ourselves justice clerks or something,
Quasi
quasi something or
court
another?
personnel. All right, so if I'm reading it correctly, I can draft an RFP?
We
Mhm.
should,
What do you
yeah.
think? Yep.
Right.
Okay,
Sounds
and
good.
I'll include all those
Yes.
additional features you are
Okay.
interested in.
Good.
And then,
Hopefully
Bill,
EVO.
we'll have you come up one more time, we have one more question with regards to this.
You're the best. Take your time.
Thank you, James.
Yeah,
So,
just
Tim,
wanna-
just to answer, right? The old saying is, attorneys are like police officers.
Right.
Right? Often underappreciated
Right.
until they're needed,
Mhm.
and then you can't get one fast enough.
Dan, just stay for one
Very
second.
true.
He's been
So,
waiting to say that.
There's,
So, with the admin system and with the credit card programs that we have, or the credit card companies that we're using, right now, the departments are, people coming in, they're paying with credit cards, so you'll get a report at the end of the month that says that it's $200 was collected in credit card fees for 4 transactions, and then they have to send you a schedule as to what the 4 transactions were, correct?
They send us a summary of what revenue those transactions were, and then they transfer the money, or we take the money from that bank account and put it into the operating account and receipt it in on Edmunds. So the transactions on Edmunds is one receipt, let's say for $400, if it's 1 or 2 different revenue accounts, receipted to that, and the detail stays with the department that collected the receipts.
Okay, so if there was ever a question as to whether or not John Doe was in that $400, they can just search by John Doe and it'll come
Yes.
up with the transaction?
Right, cause each department has, like Rec Pro has a system, and, BAS has a system, so each department that's collecting credit card receipts has a different detailed system that has who paid those fees, so you'd have to go
So-
to the department to get them.
Okay, so that can be searched through a computer transaction, because it won't be able to be searched through a computer transaction through the admin system
won't be able
unless
to,
you
right.
individually put each one in.
Yeah, and you'd have to take that report and you'd have to manually put in every transaction into Edmunds, so we can then receipt it, and then they would send the money over, which is the
So-
whole reason of having it do, electronically to begin with.
Right, so what I'm asking is that if a credit card company, whether it be EVO, Forte, or American Patriot, whatever it was that we were looking at way back when, if they, for each credit card transaction, can that be compatible with the admin system to where you would know whose credit card is being used at any particular time, or any particular day in any particular department?
We'd have to, so in other words, if they wanted to, let's say, export that to an Excel file and then let us upload it to Edmunds, we would have to give the credit card company a format to do that, and they'd have to create a script that would run that and export it to Excel, where we can then just import it into Edmunds to have the detail in Edmunds, if that's the question.
Don't you think that makes sense?
Yeah, I mean, if you're talking about putting it in the RFP, requiring them to put it in an Excel format that we require through Edmunds, then we would have the detail right in Edmunds.
Right,
Right, to read you, Councilwoman, you're saying you would wanna be able to document and memorialize every transaction by every individual department, either on a daily or monthly basis, so we're very clear on the credit card used, the party using it, and which department it emanated from, correct? I could absolutely put that in as an additional feature,
but
and
then
I
it
would
goes
think
into
that's,
the account,
Yeah, so.
so isn't it just tracked back to the account, shouldn't it just be detailed to the account that it's being deposited in?
Well, so what you would have is, well, they can be coming in as batches from the credit card company. So here's a batch of $400, and then the detail in either Rec Pro or whoever's collecting is where we get the information. We would then have Rec Pro have that detail, knowing who it is, and we would see that deposit, let's say, individual transaction, that this was $100, this was $100, this was $100, uploaded from a spreadsheet, or maybe attached to the receipt. I'll have to get in touch with Edmunds, the quickest way to do that, where you maybe have to click on the receipt and see it in a spreadsheet, or unless they can upload it. There may be two-
Wouldn't it be nice if you got $400, that would say you got $400 from 10 people that gave $40 each,
Yes.
and this is the total, and this is where it came from.
But then they would, and then what about other types of deposit, either a direct deposit or a cash basically a cash or a direct deposit?
We do that the same way. We take the deposit, we receipt it into the bank, and we put it in as a separate receipt. So you'll see that detail, cause we have to enter that.
But with the BAS program, for example, we didn't have any of our parcels within the town labeled by tax map number. So there was a spreadsheet that BAS put together that was uploaded to the, where they took all the tax map numbers and identified who the owner was. And so as the deeds come in through county center to the assessor's office, the assessors update that information through IT, so that but it's in the system, so
And I'm
anybody.
talking like sewer, water, things like that, so it would be a detailed transaction of everybody who pays their water bill?
Yep.
That would be uploaded to Edmunds?
Rather
Anybody
than
who pays
just
by
one
credit
lump
card would
sum.
then be uploaded to Edmunds into the account for that particular account, or as, so when everybody pays their water bill, so that whole detail of every credit card transaction would be uploaded to Edmunds?
That's what I would
That's
hope
what
for.
The one thing I would,
BAS.
the one thing I would say, we would have to confirm that is in conformance with what is known as the Credit Card Industry Security Standard Protocol, for security reasons. So we'd have to make sure that the protocol's in place to protect us regarding that issue, because of that data. That's very
But
concerning to them.
each credit card station, whether it be in the receiver's office or the water or sewer or whatever, each credit card station would be just like we label our budget. 001 is general fund, and then, so all the
But
deposits that day through credit card would be through
Yeah, but you-
sewer,
But like
water.
town clerk takes a bunch for different accounts, and so does
Well,
the
even just
tax
recreation,
assessor.
recreation's doing the same credit card, sometimes it goes to the general fund, sometimes to the recreation fund. So they're two separate funds, they would be recorded that way. But again, whether we're taking a spreadsheet and just, in Edmunds, you can attach spreadsheets to, a certain account or whatever else it may be. If you're trying to attach that spreadsheet to an account, if there's multiple accounts, it's not gonna work. But if you're just attaching that spreadsheet to a receipt, or are we uploading all the data as if we were entering, in that case, 4 separate
So
transactions?
it'll have an amount, not a person. It'll be transaction 1 with an amount, transaction 2 with an amount, but you're not getting the credit card data or the name.
Well, if the credit card is sending us a file that Edmunds has now given them the format that it has to be in, that we can upload to Edmunds, and instead of someone duplicating what's happening on BAS, let's say, or RecPro, and typing in those 4 transactions, if Edmunds is allowing it to upload into their system and creating 4 separate receipts, then all we have to do is accept that receipt, combine the 4, and show that as a deposit. I don't know how much more work that is, I don't know how much Edmunds can streamline it, depending on what kind of file the credit card company's gonna give
Yeah,
us.
you'd have to make sure the interface works.
Right.
But BAS can also add different boxes as to what it is, whether it's a, recreation program, whether it's a marriage certificate, whether it's, so that when you click on that and then
Then
you
it has to be
pay,
verified.
then it goes
It would have
to-
to be verified, because not everybody, like at the rec program, whether it's a general fund program, whether it's which account it's going into, it depends. If you have a summer camp versus something else.
Now, this in no way jeopardizes credit card information, right?
That's what Dan is,
That's
that's what Dan is
concern.
saying.
We would have to confirm that.
Yeah,
Because of their
that's,
industry standards.
I'm not so sure I'm too happy with that.
Well, the people are paying their taxes online right now with the
If you're
receiver.
adding an extra layer.
Right, but then it
you're
just
allowing
goes to
credit card
accounting
companies
as
to-
an amount, it doesn't go as each individual,
They're
person, that
they're
stays in the
securing-
system
They're securing that
at the-
information somehow, cybersecurity, securing that information, making sure that we have a report that it was sent, but we have the details on the back end is somehow secured by the credit card company. Putting it in a spreadsheet to upload for individual, receipt may not, or maybe they can, maybe there's
Or
certain
it just
information
doesn't
that's
give,
locked out.
give the credit card number or the last 4 digits of the credit card number.
Or
instead of
whatever
the
is
entire
that,
Or it's
credit card number.
encrypted as to that.
Maybe you
So
don't
you
even
know what
need
I'm
the credit card
saying.
number, we
I
just
got
wanna know
Okay.
that it's, Tom Jones, and this is
Right.
what the revenue's for, and this
My
is.
delight.
Right, if I could just tell you, we had a real world example of this. We had a individual, who thought they missed the tax payment filing deadline.
Oh.
So they very creatively went on the building department website and they paid their tax bill as a fee through building. So I got a call from building saying, Dan, we have no idea what this credit card processing fee is because we don't have a schedule of services that match this
Lunch.
amount. It was an odd number.
Right.
So we were able to track through EVO, which was phenomenal, as to where the payment originated and unravel what the person had attempted to do, which again, was very creative. I applaud what they tried to do, at least to get the money into the town. We were able to reverse that whole process, and work it out with them. But it speaks to how important a paper trail
Correlation.
is
Right.
regarding all these transactions as we try to unravel certain things that can happen because we have so many transactions coming into the town. EVO was good on that point. I have to applaud them on that. Paper trail was phenomenal. So we will require that in any RFP feature that we go forward with. They will have to provide that within the confines of security standards.
Okay, very good.
You guys are best.
Alrighty,
Thank you, Councilman.
any other questions for Dan? Nope. No, alright, thank you very much, Dan. And this is just
You're always
a,
appreciated.
2019 Norfolk traffic update. This is just something I wanted to bring to the board about, once we've passed this fall season, to then gather, different people together. I have a list of people here: the Long Island Farm Bureau, MTA, Suffolk County Department of Public Works, Al Krupski, Assemblyman Palumbo, Senator Laval, Riverhead Police Department, Southold PD, Department of Transportation, Chamber of Commerce, Farmland Committee Liaison, Traffic Safety Liaison, Suffolk Stony Brook University Incubator, and some Southold Town reps to get together and kind of just do a debriefing of what happened with traffic in this fall season and how we might be able to better address it for the following year. So that's that. We were thinking of the end of November as a start date.
Just make Sound Avenue a toll road, I might take care of some of it.
But then we'd have to prove how those fees are charged so that we know how much road surface is being used.
Strictly upkeep. It's the longest road in the
Sorry,
town.
Jim, I just
Longest
asked
road in
Jim
the town of
fine.
Riverhead, we should, it needs a lot of upkeep.
And that would be a statement.
As
so then how would
Gio
we do
says
that?
in traffic safety, it's the volume of cars, it's all about the volume of cars, and
I
people
know.
could just slow down.
And if there's other modes of transportation, I mean, it's to discuss what's going on. I know some of the farm stands have done alternative traffic. They've have traffic engineers coming in to alleviate some of the traffic, how much police service was used, if that could be better utilized, or if people felt the traffic flow went better. So it's just to start the discussion and see if there's any changes that we can implement for the following year.
Yeah, we should also include East End Transportation Council. And include the, LICVB, Long Island Convention and Visitors Bureau, because they have the hop-on, hop-off bus and other things that they're doing, so that everybody's working together to move people for next year.
Okay.
You did say the DOT, didn't you?
DOT's in there also. So MTA has committed to come also, which I think is good. Okay, so can I get a first and second then to go into executive session for personnel, matters leading to the employment of an employee, matters surrounding retirement of an employee, contractual matters regarding negotiation of an easement, litigation Riverhead Central School District and Town of Riverhead versus Culinary Arts Riverhead, and Town of Riverhead versus Walter Gabrielson et al. First and second?
Motion first.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
No.
No, 5 noes.